All right. So thank you for joining and welcome back to day two of the summit. I am Dr. Christie Murray, and I am happy to be the host. I'm also the CEO of Educational Excellence Incorporated, and I will be your illustrious host again today for the summit. I'm super excited to get to this point, and give me just 1 second. I'm going to get off of everything on my computer and get back to my presentation. Here we go. All right, so hopefully everyone can see my presentation. Please let me know in the chat if you're not able to see it. But welcome again today, and I'm super excited to get started. So we're gonna go ahead and kick it off.
The key with me is no one will outwork me. No one. I love and I respect you guys. You motherfuckers won't outwork me. All starts with this. 2 hands, putting it to work.
But you cannot erase the work ethic part. There is no getting around. Ain't no elevator to the top. You got to take the stairs. The elevator don't go to the top, man. Not in the world of success. You gotta take the stairs. Y'all gotta start getting gritty, man. I hate it when I see young people wasting their time, wasting all this technology you got, just sitting around in this world that's been created for you and everything is instant. But if you can combine your technology with your parents and your grandparents' work ethic, you could be rich, man.
Just ask yourself this week, do people know you for your work ethic? Are people like, man, you work hard? Are people actually commenting about you showing up early and staying late? Because if they're not, you're just blending in with everybody else's work ethic. At the end of the day, talent will not win the game. It is work ethic that will win the game.
You gotta get gritty, man. You gotta develop some dog in you. You got to get messed up sometimes. You got to get dirty. You got to get your feelings hurt. You got to get disappointed. You got to get told no. But in order to get the life of convenience, you got to have a very uncomfortable life. You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
And you're always gonna have haters, and haters are like, well, damn, man, how much are you gonna do? Like, you do a lot of shit. I say, yes, it's my ambition. Of course, you gotta work every day. It doesn't end. And when shit goes bad and it goes sideways, or you're coming through this injury, or people are writing you off, it should drive you.
If you're gonna get it, you're gonna have to have that dog. You got an opportunity. So here's the deal. When you have an opportunity, why would you give 80%, 70%? Why wouldn't you always give 120%? From today on, you play whatever your best game is, you play that level every single time. Every time you practice, you don't care what the circumstances, what the situation is, every single time you give it 120%. It doesn't mean you're gonna score every time, but you can always give 120% effort.
All right.
The key is.
All right. So thank you so much again for joining. For those who just entered the Zoom room, again, I'm Dr. Christie Murray, and I'm super excited to be back as your host for the second day of our 2024 Youth, Career, and College Excellence Summit. This event is being recorded, so please know that we will be posting it on the Educational Excellence YouTube channel and making it available to others who weren't able to attend. Also, please mute your line so that we can minimize any background noise and disruptions. We have some great speakers who are joining us today, and I'm super excited to share more about that. At any time, if you want to use the chat feature to post a question or comment, or raise your hand and come off of mute and ask a live question, we certainly welcome that. I also welcome engagement and all of our students turning on your cameras throughout the discussion today so that our guests feel welcome and feel like they're not just talking to blank screens. So we do appreciate their time and energy, so we want to make sure it's worth their while. I always kick off my summits with a video, and today's summit video was really about self-leadership and self-excellence and what does your work ethic look like. So as we're engaging again today, I want you to position yourselves in the mindset of excellence is about you being the best version of you that you can be. It's about you out competing yourself, and it's not about you competing with other people. So think about where you are on your educational and career journeys, and think about what you can do to continue to make forward progress in your own life. So with that being said, I also want to remind everyone that the slides from today's session and yesterday's sessions are available on my Educational Excellence website, and so will the recordings. I already posted the recording from yesterday, and the video recording for today will be posted as well. Also, save the date. We also have our date for the 2025 Youth, Career, and College Excellence Summit. So coming up on August 2nd and 3rd, 2025, join us back again. Whether you are a high school student, college student, or a parent, we want to invite you back. Next year will be the 5th year of this summit. And next year I want to raise, so I'm personally committing myself to raise $50,000 so that I can give it back to those who are pursuing their college and career endeavors and who join both days of the summit again next year. So you have to learn and earn to win my scholarship money. You have to attend both days, have your camera on, and also apply for the scholarships to get access to those funds on the second day. So look forward to seeing you back again next year. So what will we cover today? So after I do a day one recap of what we did yesterday, we'll have two esteemed guests come and join us and talk about your voice and your vote matters. So what is your civic and social responsibility in terms of voting? And then we will have a young lady with Wright Financial join you to talk about money matters for young adults. So we can't escape the fact that, we need funds to get through college. We need an opportunity for great earning potential post-college, and we need to really understand how to maximize our credit score, our resources to be able to increase our earning potential. So let's talk about that today. And then we'll take a brief break, and then we'll set up for a licensed professional counselor to share about self-care and mental health matters. I know yesterday we talked a little bit about breakdowns and stress and other things that affect young adults. So let's talk a little bit more and explore that this afternoon. And lastly, I am happy to wrap up with our closing remarks and to announce the scholarship winners from this year's summit. So let's jump right in and get started. So yesterday we heard from some great speakers, including myself. We talked about careers, we talked about college planning and admission strategies. We also talked about what it takes to get through the financial aid process and scholarships. So please take advantage of the slides from yesterday because they have a wealth of information on both of those topics for you to reference as you're moving forward. We also heard from a U.S. Army retired Brigadier General, Mr. Gillespie, who talked about the Army's ROTC scholarship program. And then Mr. Matt Jordan talked about apprenticeships, how you can earn while you learn and still be on a job working 40 hours a week and still getting the training and development you need in specialized career field areas. So those are two new segments on the summit. And I love to continue to expand those in future ones. And then we ended with a phenomenal panel of young adults who shared their college experience and life experiences with each one of you. And that seemed to be very well received, hearing directly from youth in your age group. So I love that segment yesterday. And there were a lot of great takeaways that I had, and I'm sure you did too, that we can carry moving forward. And then we wrapped up with closing remarks, and I shared more about the scholarship instructions and challenged you all to get your applications in by 10 p.m. last night. So thank you to all those teens who attended both days, are back here today with your cameras on and engaged. That's still a criteria. and then also submitting your application, your scholar profile, your photos, your essays, and more to get access to some of the scholarships that we'll be awarding today. So let me give you a little bit of feedback in my last few minutes. The applications overall were really well done, so hats off to everyone. I just want to remind everyone, when you're dealing with scholarships, and anytime you're dealing with any application, whether it's a college admissions application, scholarship, internship, or a job application, get it in by the deadline, ahead of the deadline. Allow room in case you have questions or you experience technical difficulties. So don't wait till the last minute, and absolutely reach out to get help if you have questions or if you have issues that you need to circle around and get help with. And know how to access your important documents, y'all. You should have access to your resume, to any certifications you have, to any transcripts, whether it's high school and or college. You should have unofficial copies of those already saved on your computer at the end of every semester. And then you should know how to get official copies as well from the universities or schools that you have attended. In terms of the scholar profile, there were a lot of instances I saw where there were formatting issues, things didn't line up, some things were underlined, some things weren't, some were bold, some weren't. Then there were grammatical issues. Some of y'all lowercase your last name, lowercase your street address, your city and state. Those are basics we learned in elementary school, proper noun sort of things. So tighten those things up, because those things are very annoying to professionals who think that you have those things already nailed and you do those very well. And then after each one of your employment opportunities, extracurricular and community activities, make sure you add the year. So if you did an activity from 2022 to 2024, put that in parentheses, please, just as example here shows. Also on your scholar profile, if you listed an objective at the beginning for your education, please be specific. It's more helpful if you hand your scholar profile to someone and it reads to obtain a bachelor's degree from somebody's school. It's okay, but it says you're interested in a bachelor's degree, but it is even better to be more specific if you have that information. For example, you want to major in electrical engineering at an HBCU or at Hampton University. As y'all can see, I'm a Hampton grad from my shirt, but those kind of details really help people to be able to connect you with opportunities. Also, make sure that you update your scholar profile at least twice a year, in the summer on your summer break and your winter break. So if you're in college and if you submitted a scholar profile that still had high school activities and high school grades and GPAs, that's a faux pas. Please include your college level activities, your college GPA. Those details need to be updated. And then I saw 2 scholarship applicants who listed their certifications. This is a great addition to a scholar profile. Some of you have certifications already. List those too. So those things are very important. Your essay, make sure that your essay is gonna differentiate you from the competition. This was probably the one area that really differentiated y'all in my scoring. Also, how many of y'all had your essays proofread last night before you submitted them to me? I can tell who did and I can tell who didn't, because I found a bunch of errors, sentence structure issues in some of your essays. And I had just told y'all to make sure somebody other than you looks at your essay before you submit them. And make sure you answer all the parts of a prompt. Sometimes they will ask you a 2 or 3 part question. Your essay needs to address each one of those clearly. Now, the best part about what I saw from your essays was what you learned the most about yourself. And so if you recall, the essay question that you got was to describe an academic challenge you experienced. That's one part. How you overcame it. That was 2 part. And what you learned about yourself. That was the 3rd part. 3 different parts of the essay. And I got some gems, like some of you learned about yourselves that you need to stay true to your strength. State that true strength comes from facing difficulties head on and using experiences to help others. Another one of you said that you learn that comparison is a thief of joy, and I simply need to run my race. Someone else said that they learned that having a reliable support group to fall on in times of need was very beneficial to them. Another person said that they learned to put my best effort into everything, not because I'm told to or even expected to, but because I want to. And someone else also said that they learned the importance of resilience and not giving up when faced with difficulties. So there were many, many, many more examples of great things that you all learned. So hats off to you for sharing and being vulnerable. Sometimes you have to be vulnerable to a little extent in your essay writing for people to really connect with you as you tell your story. So congratulations to you all on your essay contributions. Now, with great pleasure, I have the privilege of introducing two phenomenal individuals who will be sharing with you on why your voice and your vote matters. So I'd love to introduce Miss LaToya Kisha Williams and Miss Mrs. Andrea Bailey, who will be joining us to tell you more about why your vote matters. So we're going to start, and I'm going to turn the floor over first to Mrs. LaToya Kisha Williams. And then when she's done with her presentation, I will turn it over to Mrs. Andrea Bailey. Hold your questions for both. And then at the end, we will take a few questions. All right, let's see. I think we are all set and ready to go. So with that being said, welcome, Ms. LaToya Kisha Williams. You have the floor. And you are on mute.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Murray, for that gracious introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is LaToya Williams. I am a small business owner in Fredericksburg, Virginia. I am also the Voters Education, Registration, and Mobilization Chairperson for the Psi Psi Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I want to start by telling you a little story. When I was 18, I found myself in a unique situation that underscored the importance of voting. I was stationed in Germany within the military, far from home, surrounded by a different culture, and thousands of miles away from the familiar surroundings of my community. But even from that distance, I knew that my voice mattered. The process for me was different compared to that of my peers. Instead of going to a polling station, I had to vote via absentee ballot. But it wasn't just about filling out a piece of paper. It was about making a deliberate choice to participate in the democratic process, regardless of where I was in the world. Next slide, please. I want to talk to you now about a little bit about why it's important to vote. Change only occurs when there is action. I want to repeat that. Change only occurs when there is action. Voting is a powerful tool for shaping the future of our communities and country. Throughout history, significant achievements like the Civil Rights Acts of 1964 and the 19th Amendment, which granted women the right to vote, have been accomplished through the persistent efforts of individuals exercising their right to vote. As you can see from the slide here, we have several key instances of how change occurs through action. We have the 19th Amendment of 1920, the Civil Rights of 1964, the Voting Rights of 1965, and then recent reforms from the state of Virginia. I'm not sure if everyone on the call is actually from Virginia, but that's who I'm going to highlight because if you're not aware, election law varies from state to state, and we'll talk a little bit about that as I go on. So how can you ensure that you participate in the democratic process, just like I did? Next slide, please. Number one, make sure you register to vote. You need to make sure that you're registered to vote in your home state or in the state where your college is located. I do want to echo, if you are registering to vote in the state that your college is located and it's not in Virginia, as I stated earlier, election laws vary from state to state, and we'll talk about that a little bit later when we talk about eligibility. Each state has different rules, so it's essential to know what is required and meet any deadlines. 2, stay informed. Being in a new environment, whether it's a military base or a college campus, can sometimes make it challenging to stay connected with the issues back home. It's crucial to stay informed about the candidates and the policies that impact your community and the nation. Use reliable news sources, attend discussions and forums, and research the issues that matter to you. 3, plan your vote. In the military, absentee voting was my only option, and planning was key. Similarly, as college students, you need to plan how you will vote. If you're not in your home state, you may need to request an absentee ballot, and I'm going to tell you how as we get further in this presentation. Alternatively, you could register to vote in the state where you're studying. Check deadlines and ensure you have everything you need to cast your ballot. 4, engage your peers. Talk to your classmates. Talk to your family members. It's important to understand what's important to people in your community. That's how you make your decisions on who you're going to vote for. You want to vote for candidates that align with your visions, your goals, and what you want to see happen in your community. And number 5, the most important one, is exercise your right to vote. Make sure you vote, whether you do it by mail, early voting, on election day. The act of voting is a powerful way to make sure your voice is heard. It's a way to advocate for the issues that matter to you, from tuition fees and education policies to broader national and international issues. Next slide, please. Next, we're going to talk about voting basics. As I stated earlier, each state election laws vary from each state. The first thing you want to consider are you eligible to vote? We're going to take the state of Virginia, for instance. To be eligible to vote in Virginia, you must be a resident of Virginia. A person who has come to Virginia for temporary purposes and intends to return to another state is not considered a resident for voting purposes. You must be a U.S. citizen. You must be 18 years old. Any person who is 17 years old and will be 18 years of age of the next general election shall be permitted to register to vote in advance and also vote in the intervening primary and special election. So that's very important. Let's take a minute to talk about that for a second. So right now, a lot of you are preparing to go to college or are in college already, and you're already 18. If you are 17 now, and you're going to turn, you will be turning 18 before the November 5th elections, you can register to vote now. That is one privilege that we have in the state of Virginia that may not be prevalent in other states. As we talked about election law, certain things like voter registration, voting methods, voter identification, ballot design and counting, even election day, campaign finance law, and election administrations, those things are governed by the state. So just because you're able to vote, again, in Virginia, this applies to Virginia, it may not apply to the state that you choose to vote in. So make sure you do your research on that. Registration and voting methods. It must be completed by the registration deadline, typically 22 days before Election Day. Once you have submitted your registration form, you should receive an information card or correspondence from the registration status. That's what they do in Virginia. Again, it may be different in another state if you choose to register in another state where your college is. If you do not receive one, contact your local registrar's office to make sure your application has been processed. Same-day registration is available in Virginia. However, those registering late may use a provisional ballot. I want to echo that. You can do same-day registration on the day of the election, November 5th, but you will have to use a provisional ballot, and that is for the state of Virginia. Again, if you're going off to college and you're registering to vote in that state, you're going to have to find out what their rules are for voter registration. Where to register? There are several ways that you can register to vote. There's online registration. You can go to your local voter registration office. You can go to any state or local government office when applying or recertifying for temporary assistance for needy families, SNAP, WIC, Medicaid, or rehabilitation services. You can go to government offices in the state that provide state-funded programs, primarily engaged in providing service to persons with disabilities. You can go to any armed forces recruitment office. That's Army, Navy, Coast Guard, Air Force. Public libraries. How many people knew you could go to the public library and register to vote? Virginia Department of Elections Office, of course. You can go to the DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles, and register to vote. And of course, you can vote at voter registration drives. So let's talk a little bit about absentee and mail-in voting. I assume that most of you are going off to college, some in the state of Virginia, some may not be in the state of Virginia. However, you can still vote in the state of Virginia if you're out of state through absentee ballot. They are available to all voters without needing a specific reason. You can request a ballot and vote by mail or online, or you can vote in person. Now, keep in mind, if you do choose to do an absentee ballot, there are deadlines, and you got to make sure that you apply for that absentee ballot before you leave for college or while you're at college, before that deadline hits. Once you get that absentee ballot, the ballot must be received by your local general registrar no later than 12 p.m. on the third day following the election. Now, as we're talking about absentee ballots, I do want to stress for college students about the absentee ballot. One of the things for the state of Virginia, and again, it varies from state to state, that they stress about absentee ballots is that you have to determine what your state of residency is going to be. And so if you are off to college and it is not in Virginia, you're going to have to put your legal address back home. If you are in Virginia and you choose to use the location of your school, Virginia will allow you to use the location of your school as your residency address. You can use that to get your absentee ballot. And so I can't say that's the case for other states, but in Virginia, they will allow you to use your dormitory address as your legal address if you're registering to vote, and they will send your ballots, your absentee ballot, to the college, or they will register you to vote using that address. One of the other methods of voting, we have early voting. Early voting is offered from 45 days from the election day through the Saturday before election day. For the state of Virginia right now, just to give you some idea of what our deadlines are looking like, the first day of in-person early voting at our local registrar's office is September 20th, 2024. The deadline to register to vote or update an existing registration is October 15th, 2024. The deadline to apply for a ballot to be mailed to you is October 25th, 2024. Voter registration's office open for early voting on Saturday, October 26, 2024. The last day of in-person early voting at your local voter registration office is Saturday, November 2nd, 2024 at 5 p.m. So as you can see, we don't have a lot of time. If you are interested in early voting, or if you're interested in registering to vote, the time is now. Okay, let's talk a little bit about where to vote. The location of your polling place is basically determined by the residential address that you put on your application when you register to vote. Again, as I stated earlier, if you are going off to college and your college is in Virginia and you want to put your dormitory address as your residential address while you're away, what will happen is your polling place, or where you're able to vote, will be decided upon that address. If you utilize your home address in Virginia, your polling place will be assigned based off that address. Voter ID requirements. Again, election law varies from state to state, so it may not be the same if you choose to vote in another state. However, Virginia does have a list of acceptable forms of ID to include the Virginia's driver's license, the U.S. passport, your student ID from a Virginia college or university, or military ID. They have an extensive list on items that they will accept. Again, this will not be the same for other states. The one thing, or one of the reforms I do want to talk to you about in the state of Virginia is that voters arriving at the polls without an acceptable form ID will be required to either sign an ID confirmation statement or vote on a provisional ballot, meaning that the state of Virginia will still allow you to vote. However, you have to sign one of these documents and agree by a certain time to bring that ID back to the polling office or to the registrar. Next slide, please. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want you to know, voting is a fundamental civic duty. It allows citizens to influence politics at the local, state, and national level. Those historic movements that we talked about in the beginning of the presentation in regards to change requires action. A lot of those are at risk. We're now seeing in our nation that a lot of those laws that were put in place to protect or to resolve social injustices are now at risk. It is your civic duty to be able to vote, to be able to have an influence, not just on a national level, but a local and state level. For additional information on how to vote in your area, please visit your state's Board of Elections website if you're not in Virginia. At any time, if you have any questions or concerns, or if you want to register to vote, or you don't know where to register to vote, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn under LaToya Williams. Also, what I want you all to know that everything that we talked about here today, it is not my goal. It is not the goal of Psi Psi Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated to influence the vote or to tell you who to vote for. That is not what we do. But we do want to encourage you to go out and exercise your right to vote. Again, you have a say. Your vote matters. We see that change occurs through action. And the only way that we can get change is that if you register to vote now and get out there and show yourself on whether you do it via absentee ballot or in person or early voting, get out there and make your voices heard. Thank you so much. I definitely appreciate this opportunity. Again, please do not hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns about polling places, how to register, or if you're deciding if you're going to decide to register to vote in another state. And I'll be more than happy to provide information for you or point you in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so very much, Mrs. Williams, for such valuable information on how to vote. And thank you for emphasizing that students and young adults check out the voting requirements and guidelines in your state so that you understand your specific actions and what can be allowed in your state. So voting matters, not just in the presidential election cycle, but, and if I'm honest, a lot of issues and policy decisions that are made by local, state officials in our communities, in our state. So with great pleasure, we actually have an elected official joining us today. And I'm happy to introduce you to Supervisor Andrea Bailey for the Potomac District here in the Prince William County, Virginia area. And she's on the Board of County Supervisors. So she's gonna join you and talk about your vote is your voice, no vote, lost choice. So great topic, and I turn it over to Mrs. Bailey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon to everyone, and to my wonderful pink and green sister, LaToya. Thank you so much for joining me today. It is an exceptional opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, for me to talk to you today about your vote. And I want to thank Dr. Murray for her invitation, because I tell you, we have specific challenges and opportunities in our world that we cannot afford to pass up. And so this is one of them. This can be a challenge in terms of logistics, in terms of who do I talk to, in terms of who do I vote for, but it can also be an opportunity because your vote is absolutely your voice. And no vote is positively a loss and a choice. And you know, we all love choices. So let's talk a little bit about the integral parts of what your vote can mean. You've gotten a very structural, technical guidelines from Ms. Williams, what you should do, who you should turn to, who you should talk to. But I want you to go a little bit deeper and partner that with the information you've already gotten. Next slide, please. So your vote is your voice. It charges the world to view the entire democracy. But most of all, it charges you to have input in our democracy, which is as Ms. Williams just told you, we have a lot of challenges with that now. We are going a lot of directions. And so I want you to really think about our democracy as it relates to your vote. Next slide, please. Your vote is your voice. It gives you an opportunity to select who will represent your voice locally, statewide, and federally. So let me just share with you, as a local elected official, here to serve you, no matter the capacity. Dr. Murray said a lot of those major decisions are made locally. And so I want you to focus on that. I want you to understand that. And what happens is a lot of the funding, a lot of the resources, a lot of the programs that are created at a higher level, at a federal level, those kinds of decisions are trickled down to my level locally. And I get to spend time with you and your vote and instituting and distributing those types of resources. So this gives you an opportunity when you're voting to select who you want to represent locally, statewide, and federally. Next slide, please. Your vote is definitely your voice, and it helps you to decide what policies and what bills, what programs, what protections are legislatively strong for our nation. And so what that transcends to is what is working within your communities, what is working within the state, what is working nationally. And also, conversely, it gives you an opportunity to decide what is not working and have an impact on it. Next slide, please. Your vote is your voice. It puts you, yes, you, as a citizen in the driver's seat to change the past, control the present, and build the future. And how many times have you heard from so many people that you are our future? And you absolutely are. You're our future. So it's incumbent upon you to get in the game, drive the car, get in the seat and drive the car, and make sure that you embrace change within our country, change within your community, and understand what is going on in the present day that affects you. But most of all, understand how you can infuse and change the future. Next slide, please. Your vote is your voice. And I tried to make this a little larger so you could read it, but I'm going to tell you what it says because it's very important in understanding why your vote is important. Always remember that on August 6, 1965, before you were even thought of, not me, before you were even thought of, President Lyndon B. Johnson passed a landmark piece of legislation in the United States of America prohibiting any discrimination in voting. And it's been ratified 5 times to expand those protections. And all of this happened during the Civil Rights era. Currently, a stronger recognition is being proposed on the voters' rights legislation, named after our very own Congressman John Lewis, who in his own right was an icon for civil rights. He's now deceased, but his premises, his teachings, his protection of our country still lives on. And with that, it restores and strengthens that very protection that landmark decision was made in 1965. Next slide, please. Your vote is your voice, and it starts when you're 18, as Ms. Williams told you. It starts then. Now, if you're 17 now, don't get upset about it, because if you're going to be 18 by November 5th, you've got an absolute great chance to vote. But you got to have a valid ID. And as long as you are a U.S. citizen and a citizen of the state of Virginia or wherever you live in the United States, all of these credentials must be legitimate and gives you an opportunity to lend a voice to your vote. Next slide, please. Your vote is definitely your voice. And you can vote as early for the presidential election as early as October 13th. And then it ends November 2nd. Now, those dates may vary from state to state. So that's why Ms. Williams told you to do your homework. Go back and see when those precise dates apply to you so that you don't miss lending your voice to your vote. And at the bottom, I've provided some websites for Prince William County and for Stafford County, so that you can just go in right after this presentation and kind of look at what that seems like, what that looks like for you and where you live, and how you can expedite this process immediately. Next slide, please. Keep going. Okay, thank you. I'm not as smart as you guys on the screen. I've had glitches. Your vote is your voice. And what is required of you is to just do your homework and to understand who's the best choice for your values. Who represents you? Who represents you? You are in the power seat. You can drive the car. Do your homework. Don't go on what your friend tells you. Listen to the history in your home. But most of all, do your homework. That'll be over once you get high-powered job, get your high-powered job. But right now, you got to do your homework. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. Your vote is your voice. And currently, for 2024, we have candidates that are running for office for the president's position, for the vice president's position, for the U.S. Senate, there are candidates there, and for the U.S. House of Representatives, which are commonly known as congressmen and women. Next slide, please. But you got to remember, there are consequences for everything that you do. And I know you've heard that as well. No vote, no choice. And then you don't have a voice. You lose your power and you lose your choice. You lose your opportunities and you lose your voice when you don't vote. It's a right. Ms. Williams told you that. It is a right, a God-given right. And it's a choice. Next slide, please. It's a right and a choice. The right is very simple. Just go vote. Your choice is absolutely necessary. Be empowered to get engaged. Have a say. You are absolutely our future. Your voice absolutely matters. Next slide, please. So your vote, again, is your voice. And so I want to empower you with some information. And you may not live in Virginia, but just giving you an example of where you can go and get information and be referred to other information. For example, Virginia Board of Elections, that's the website there. Stafford County Board of Elections, Prince William County Board of Elections. And I've given you the website, but it can also refer you to other places where you can get more detailed information. And I also put Fredericksburg there as well. Next slide, please. So this slide, not to influence anybody, may I have a point of privilege, Dr. Murray, personally?
Yes, you may.
Thank you so much. When I first learned about voting, I was 18 years old. I watched my grandma walk citizens, neighbors, back and forth to the polling booth to vote when she didn't have an opportunity to vote as a young girl at 18 years old. And they would go and they would vote and they come back to our home and they talk about the issues in the community. And so as a private citizen, I learned that I did have a choice, a say in this country. I had a choice as and a big voice as a minority woman, as a daughter, as a wife, as a mom, even as a professional. Before I became an elected, I was a corporate citizen. And so my vote and my voice was imperative in this country as it related to economic development, as it relates to your education, as it relates to provisions for families. And then as a community leader, I learned more. My voice was definitely determined by the votes that I made at the voting booth. And then I'm a member of a great sorority in this country, the first in the country. And I am very proud to understand right now, this pinnacle moment, that I have a choice. I have a choice as an African-American citizen to make the best decision for your future. I have a choice, as my mom taught me, and that's a picture of my mom. I have a choice as a military spouse. That's a picture of my husband and I having a good time, but we work hard also. I have a choice as a mom. That's my son. My son went to the United States Naval Academy, and now he's a corporate citizen. And so I talk to him a lot, as I'm talking to you, about his vote mattering for the next generation. And I still have an opportunity as a community leader to serve this community, but making the choices as we go forward. So, next slide, please. Next slide. So I just want to thank you for the opportunity, first of all, to serve you in Virginia. I want to thank you. If you haven't voted yet, or if you're going to vote, I want to thank you and your parents for giving me an opportunity to be your representative. And then lastly, I want to thank you for listening today, because this is something that you will carry with you for the rest of your life, because absolutely your vote is your voice. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. And thank you, Mrs. Bailey, for your remarks, and Mrs. Williams. And now we're going to use the last 10 minutes that we have with you to ask you both questions that our audience would want to know. So our young adults, come off of mute, raise your hand, or put a question or comment in the chat so that you can get, this is a safe space for you to get whatever questions you have answered as future voters or new voters, or some of you experienced voters who might have questions. We're not here to tell you who to vote for. I'm gonna tell you like my daddy told me when I turned 18. He said, vote your conscience. And sometimes when you love all the choices, it's hard to make one. Or if you don't like any of the choices, it might be difficult. But then he said, vote the lesser of evils. So sometimes you have to use your own critical thinking skills, and you have to think about the issues that affect you and that are going to affect the majority of us, and positive ways or not so positive ways, and let those things guide what you do. So who has a question? Let's see if there's any in the chat. We do have a question. Mr. Gabriel says, how can I inform myself of the candidates, such as values, vision, and goals? Good question.
That's a great question. Let me go first, LaToya. Is it okay? You can do that by simply getting engaged. Start asking the questions. Start going to voter registration drives. Start going to town halls when your local elected officials, or your state or federal. Start going. Start asking the hard questions of those that are serving you. Participate by voting as a volunteer. That's very important. I'm certainly hiring volunteers right now. Hint, hint. So that's really important, to have interns in my office so that I can teach them the things that we do once we're elected and while we're helping others to be elected. That's what I meant when I said get engaged.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the second thing to that is making sure you can, if you do live in Virginia, there's a candidates list there. So all of the candidates are listed for everyone to go see. Each of these candidates also have typically a candidate website or something of that nature, where you can go and do research and see what where their voting records are, what they value. All of those things. So all of that information is provided to you with your Board of Elections website. So go look who the candidate is. You can click and see if they have a website and do your research, do your homework.
Excellent, thank you. And the next question is, what is the best way we can research and find actual facts of political policies and understand what those policies would mean for the future?
So the link that I put in for the Board of Elections, that's one area that you can just click on and go. And I'll provide that information to Dr. Murray afterwards as well. And also, you can just put in the web browser, U.S. Representatives for Congress. You can put whatever your question is, put it in the web browser, and it'll pop up. But just type in U.S. Congress, and then you can go in, you can look at the bills, and you can look at what your representatives are working on now. You can also, once you find your representatives for your area, you can click on their website and you can get information so that you are very astute when you go to the polls as to if this person is really representing the values that you believe in.
It's a great response. And each state has a version of the Board of Elections. So Gabriel, for example, you're in Florida. So if you go and you Google Florida congressional election races for 2024, it'll pop up with the candidates, and you'll be able to go as Miss Bailey instructed and get more information. That's a great question. Another question we had is, can people under the age of 18 vote for anything?
No. Only if you're voting for your local high school or college. But when it comes to local, state, and federal elections, you must be a registered voter.
Mm-hmm. Next question, how can we volunteer or get engaged even if we can't vote? That's a really great question, Kenneth.
Well, Kenneth, where do you live? Mr. Coleman, come off mute.
Mr. Coleman.
Virginia.
You live, okay. So first thing you have to do is find out who represents you. Repeat your question again. I may be giving you something different.
How can we volunteer?
Okay.
Get engaged even if we can't vote?
Yes. So first thing you need to do is find out who represents you. Call the office and say you want to volunteer. It's as simple as that. And what that will do for you, it'll get you engaged locally, state, and federal. That's where you learn grassroots stuff about what's going on in your community. Get involved, ask them, I'm a student, I want to intern. Most elected officials, when you say you want to intern, it's like a sponge for us. We want you in our space because the whole value of us representing you is to pass on the voting process to you for the next generation. That's what it should be.
And I'll add, it's also a great way for you aspiring future leaders and elected officials to get firsthand experience and mentoring from current elected officials. So if you have any aspirations about getting involved with the political process or setting policy at various levels, what better way to do it than to volunteer? So
I will tell you, on the local level, me and my colleagues, we have hired from middle school to seniors in college in our offices. And so what that does is it assists you when, say, if you're doing a paper and you have to have an internship, that's a great way of getting information for that. Or if you're in middle school and you're in a civics class and you really don't get it, that's a great way of beginning to get it, beginning to understand what is all this voting stuff. And if you're in high school, it's a great way to expend some energy and make a little money as well. So just want to share that with you.
Dr. Murray, I want to go back to the question in regards to how do they find out the voting history or the issues that matter to a candidate. In the state of Virginia, You can go on the state Congress website, and I don't know if this applies to other states as well, but they list all of those bills and they show you how a particular candidate voted. So if you want to find out that information, that's just another avenue that you'll be able to do. Again, you can look and see who voted for what, and do that fact check that way.
Thank you very much. And I'm putting that in the chat
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, and I have a similar space also. Thank you for reminding us of that.
Absolutely. I have another great question. What are some ways to encourage others to vote?
Take them to events with you. Talk about what matters to you, and talk about what's going on in the world. Just encouraging them to have that voice as well. Tell them about this seminar or this webinar that you attended for the past couple of days. Just get them inspired, just talking about it. You want to make sure that you're engaging your peers about what matters to you and what matters to them.
Excellent. This is a really interesting question. So I have two college age, voting age young adults in my house. So they resonate with this next question as well. If you disagree with both options in the presidential election, is there a way to vote for someone else?
Wow, that is a great question. That is a great question. Yes, it is. There's an opportunity for you to, from a legal standpoint, to add someone else's name to the ballot. It is a process, and I don't want to misguide you, so I'm not going to give you details about the process, but you will find that on the Board of Elections website. Our country, there are two prominent political and the Democratic organization, but there is a third. It's an independent organization where voters will vote their conscience, as Dr. Murray's dad said, in a different way. They won't vote by party. They'll vote how their conscience leads them. Not that the others don't, but it gives them an option of voting either way. Did I describe that correctly, Ms. Williams?
I think you did, yes.
Okay.
You did. Very well, thank you.
Okay.
And if I could add, one of the things that I share with my young adults is this. We have, even though you may not agree with the top candidates that may be on the slate, your vote, whether you choose not to vote at all, or you write in a candidate and vote, or a independent, or you write in a candidate, what you're doing is you're still exercising your right to vote. So kudos for that. But you're also potentially creating an imbalance in the decision. So ultimately, one of those two candidates that you don't agree with, both candidates you don't agree with, generally speaking, one of the two of them will still win. And that's why I always encourage young adults to think about the issues that matter to you, to your family, to think about your future generations, your children, your children's children, and look at policies that are either going to set them up for success or for failure. And then sometimes you have to look at the short term and the long term implications to the policy, even if you don't like the people. And see, we have to do a better job of separating the people themselves from the policies they represent. Because it's easy during the election cycle to get caught up in the name calling or the finger pointing. But when it's all said and done, the policies are the things that are going to change and affect our lives the most. So when you're struggling, start doing comparisons to policies that you can live with and those that you cannot live with. And let that be somewhat of a compass to assist you.
If I may, I want to offer this. I know you saw a certain picture on my presentation. I didn't put there for a sphere of influence, as my wonderful pink and green sister said earlier. I put that there because I wanted you to understand that I realized that I have to make a choice. And that is the whole purpose of you knowing that your vote matters. You have influence on the choices that are being delivered in the United States of America. You have a choice. Your voice matters. And you are the next generation that will secure this nation. And so just like you make specific choices about what colleges you will attend, just like you make specific choices about what job you'll accept once you finish college or what you want to major in, this is equally as important. The choice that you make is equally important. So it bodes the time, it bodes the energy, it bodes the research that you go and you conduct yourself accordingly before you vote, because it is absolutely your choice and how this nation will run.
And thank you very much. And with that, we're bringing this, your voice, your vote to a conclusion. And I will give Ms. Bailey and Ms. Williams both an opportunity to share any final remarks before we conclude. Ms. Bailey, we'll start with you.
Oh, I was going to say Sarah, please. You know, I have to say that it gives me honor to serve younger folk, because I'm of a mind as an elected official, when I stop hearing you, when I stop working with you, I lose my edge. I lose my edge to serve. And you are so important to this nation. I know we're in a very crazy and conflicting time right now. People are just not really settled in their decision making. But I know that you are. I know that you understand the importance of voting. I want you to make it a part, just like you make your credit cards that mom and dad has given you. You make that car important that mom and dad has given you. You make having fun with your friends and spending time with your friends. Just as important as those things are, voting is also. So when you've gone out and you've had a good time partying with your friends, or you just went to McDonald's to have a burger, make sure you make time, you save the time to vote. Because if you don't, then you lose the opportunity to make sure that this nation where you live is where you want to live. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Williams.
Absolutely. Historically, everyone, your age group, 18 to 25, has been, as far as voting, you really haven't been turning out until as of late. This is your opportunity to make a difference of the world that you want to live in, the nation that you want to live in the state that you live in. It's not just national government we talked about earlier. It is state, it is local, okay? You have a voice. Speaking to, as we, going back to what Ms. Bailey said about her grandmother being 18 years old and not having that voice, you have a choice. You have a choice on what your future looks like, what your children's futures look like. Take advantage of it. Do your homework and go vote.
All right, well said. I'm going to drop the mic on both of those closing remarks. And let me thank you both, Mrs. Bailey and Mrs. Williams, again for your time. Y'all, let's give it up with a special thank you to our invited guests. Your voice, your vote does matter. So thank you both for joining us today. Feel free to stick around, or if you have other activities, we certainly value and appreciate your time. But this has been an outstanding segment on Rocking the Vote, Stroll into the Polls for 2024. So thank you all so very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Up next, we have our next segment. So if we know the importance of voting matters, guess what else matters, y'all? Money matters. So next up, I am going to invite another special guest to join us. Let me pin her real quick so that you can see her. Let's extend a warm welcome to Miss Tanika Pierce with Wright Time Financial. Welcome, Miss Pierce, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
So, Miss Pierce is going to talk to you about financial information and why money matters for young adults. So, please introduce yourself and I will pull up your slides.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad to be here with you guys to talk to you about money and why it matters in financial literacy, because I know all of you are going to be rich one day and you need to know how you're going to manage that money. So I'm here to just kind of go over some basics with you, give you some information that you may know, but it's always good to be reminded, because really money is one of those things that you're going to be dealing with on a day-to-day basis. I mean, you probably already know because you use your parents' money, you know, like my son uses mine. It's ongoing, but one day, you know, you're going to be in charge of your own funds and your own money. You really need to know how to use those wisely. So next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, so why does money matter? It's important that you understand money and that you're literate about how to use money, because it's one of the things that's going to affect you in your life. You want to be as informed and prepared as possible for your present and your future. Having the knowledge to make like informed financial decisions enables you to plan for your future. Time is the main factor for growing your money. So I'm glad that I'm able to speak to you now, because money has time, it grows with time. So there's a value with time. It's called the time value of money. Over time, one of the things that I found is that the value of your money is affected by the amount of time that you have. So you must choose and use it wisely. So it can make the difference between you not having enough, being comfortable, being wealthy. And I'm sure most of you want to be wealthy. I mean, I can tell. And it can provide, really what money can also do is give you the opportunity to have more time to travel, time to invest, be in your community, active in your community, and all the things that you enjoy. So the decisions you make today are important in how you will want to live the lifestyle that you want as you get older. So we're going to use money as a tool. So next slide, please. So you want to be smart about money, and I'm sure you guys have seen this before. SMART. What is SMART? SMART is specific, measurable, attainable, and realistic goals, and they're time-based. For example, if you want to make, say, $1,000 a month, how are you going to do that? So you want to be specific. I want to make $1,000 a month. Well, how do you want to do that? I want to make $1,000 a month every, for the year, 12 months. In 2025, well, how can you do that? You can create a YouTube channel and you're going to post a video a week for 3 months. Or y'all may use TikTok or Instagram. I know a lot of you guys may want to be content creators. That is a real thing. I do understand that. But you want to be specific. You don't want it to be vague. You want it to be something that you can describe. So for example, you want to have a clear direction and be specific about what you want to achieve and when you want to achieve it. You want it to be measurable. So it can be measured by time, months, weeks. It can be measured by improvements. Say maybe you made more than 25% improvements. And these are things that you can use not just with money, but you can use it as you go through college, taking your classes. Maybe you want to make an A on a test and you need to define a goal on how to do that. So you're going to study every night for 2 hours, for 3 hours. How will you know you've achieved it? When you take that test, or you take a pre-test and you know all the answers, or you study and you ask yourself all the questions and you know the answers to the questions. It's okay. Next slide, please. So I wanted to ask you guys, so who's your favorite artist or athlete? And you can come off mute or you can put it in the chat if you like. And then I want you to say, who?
Chief Keef.
Chief Keef? I don't know who that.
Simone Biles.
Simone, okay, Simone Biles. Like, all I know is Kendrick Lamar. I know Drake. I kind of know somebody named Gunna. I don't know his songs. Y'all probably do. But the thing is, they've made career decisions and they make a lot of money. But what I want to show you guys is that whether you make $100,000 or $1,000,000, you have to have a plan on how you use it, because you can have that $100,000 and be a millionaire, or you can have that $1,000,000 and you can be broke next year. So financial literacy is important. So when you think about career decisions that you want to make, think about what you enjoy doing. What would you do every day if you didn't make money doing it? That's how you can identify. People say, well, identify what's your passion. Your passion could be drawing. It could be an artist. It could be making rap songs and music. Find ways to take the things that you love and you enjoy and find ways to monetize it, because I promise you, money will come to you. Don't worry about that part. I come to you as just telling you, do what you love, because even in my career, I've been very successful, but I veered off of what I enjoyed, which is educating people about financial literacy and finances. And that's what I'm doing now. This is what I would do if I made $0. I would talk to you guys about financial literacy and how to make that work for you. You know, so when you think about your careers and you're going to college, I encourage you not to just focus on the amount of money you can make. Focus on what you love. The money will come. I promise you, it'll come. So I just want to tell you that. So what brings you joy? What do you enjoy doing? What do you love doing? Do you love helping people? Does that mean that you want to be a doctor, an educator? You know, find those things and you'll find ways to make money and to monetize those things that you enjoy doing. So can anybody tell me what they want to do, what they think about they enjoy doing as a career? What do you love? Have you guys thought about that? Do you know where you're going? Go ahead, Kenneth.
Anesthesiology.
Anesthesiology. And so you got to think about planning for that. A lot of schooling, a lot of hard work, but it's lucrative and you can make a lot of money. And so we'll talk about ways that you can ensure that the money you make, you can keep it as time goes on. Mariangeli?
Mariangeli.
Mariangeli.
I decided to do communications. At first, I was interested in engineering, but then I found out real quick that that was too much for me. And I actually really enjoy public speaking and getting to know other people, building connections. So communications is what I'm interested in.
Awesome. And I think you'll be great at that. Absolutely. Jakayla?
I want to be a cosmetic chemist.
Oh, cosmetic chemist. Never heard of that, but it sounds very interesting and like something that is needed out there. So great. Good. Anaya?
I want to be a financial advisor.
Oh, girl, come on to the team then. Come on over here to Right Time Financial, child. We got you. No, that's great. I think so. You guys all have really good plans for what you want to do in your career. And I'm glad that it's something that you all would love to do, that you enjoy doing. So keep that, you know. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. So now in all of your careers, you want to talk about a budget. You're going to be making money. So once you begin, you need to establish kind of a budget. Right now, you are either in high school or college, but a budget is simply a plan for your money. I want you to understand that a budget does not mean that you are depriving yourself of the things that you enjoy. You're just making space for it so that you don't overdo the things that you enjoy, and then you find out you have nothing left at the end of the month. So you want to track like your savings, you want to track your spending and track your saving. For example, so if you go to college, right now, you probably may have a lot of scholarships, or your parents are paying for you, or you're going to get a combination of loans, combination of parent support. You may work, you may do job study. If you are doing that, you'll have to create a budget, because you'll need to know how much it costs for your classes, costs for your books, costs for you to eat if you're going to eat on campus, if you're off campus. For example, I have a son that's in college now. He will be a junior this year. He lived in the dorm his first year and he had a meal plan. Then he moved off campus and did not have a meal plan. And if you guys are like him, y'all probably DoorDash a lot. There is a big difference between eating in the cafeteria on campus and DoorDashing. Those are things that you have to factor in. If you're getting money, say you'll get money from your parents, or you're working on your own or putting yourself through college, what have you, you can say you have coffee 4 times a week. So let's do a budget for about a year. Let's do an estimate so we can look at a typical, what could occur. So there's 52 weeks in a year. So say you drink coffee, Starbucks, $2.50. You go there 4 times a week. In a year, you spent $520. So you do Uber Eats because the cafeteria is closed. It closed at 8. It's midnight. You're hungry. So now you order an Uber Eats. Let's say about $15 every time you order Uber Eats, 3 times a week. Over the course of a year, that's about $22,340. Now, say you also want to hang out with your friends on the weekend. Y'all go to the movies. The movies are expensive now. I don't know what else y'all do besides the kickbacks, but the weekend, you may spend about $25 to $30. That's $1,560. Mind you, 52 weeks in a year, so we're taking $25 times 52. So your total spending for the year is $4,420. Now, when you finish the school in 4 years, that's $17,680 that you have spent on eating out, coffee, hanging out with your friends, and just having a good time. Could that go for a car? Could that go towards a car payment? So budgeting and spending is important so you know where your money is going and how you're using it. Now, that's not to say that you can't do those things, but you may want to make changes on one part if you want to do more in another part. That's why that's important. So track your expenses. You need to define what your income is. Do you have an income? Do you work? Do you have a stipend that you have every month? You kind of keep those tracks. So keep those in mind. So you have income, your expenses. It tells you how much you have left at the end of the month. So you want to set up financial goals that will help you plan and prioritize what's important to you and how those align with your interests. They'll help you be more aware of your spending on a day-to-day basis. And it's a good idea to write them out and be mindful of these as you go through college. There's some apps that you can use that will help you with budgeting. You have Mint, and you have what is called UNAB. You need a budget. That's what it stands for, YNAB. You need a budget. There's Fudget. If you want to use pen and paper, you can always use that Excel spreadsheet. A lot of times you can pull in your expenses from your bank accounts. So if you run a report from your bank account and you can export it in Excel and you can see what you spent your money on for the whole month. A lot of times they have the statements, but if you want it more specific, you can go in and see what you did month to month to month. These are good habits to get into because even when you're out of school and you're in your career as a young adult, you'll need to know how to do these because ultimately you're going to be responsible for the money that you bring in and the money that you spend. Okay. Next slide, please. Now, something else that you have to understand is like with money, there's also something called debt. Some of you may get student loans. That's a type of debt. Credit cards is a type of debt. Mortgages are a type of debt. Buying a car, that's a type of debt. So you want to make sure that your income does not exceed your expenses and that you have enough money to pay any debt that you may have. And debt is something that you owe somebody. For example, if you have a student loan, you have to go back and pay the cost of the education back to the institution. It usually includes a fee or an interest over time. And I'll tell you, like student loans they can be expensive. I had student loans when I went to college, and they're almost forgiven. Hopefully they're gone, but it takes a long time. So one word of advice is if you take a student loan and you qualify for a certain amount, only take what you need. When I was in college, I had I had a car and I bought it with my student loan money. The car is gone, but I still have the student loan. So don't make mistakes by taking out more than you need. I didn't need that money for that car, but I had it in my account. I had a refund check and I thought that I could just, spend it how I wanted to spend it. Don't do that. It might look good at the time, but in the long run, it's not like one of the best decisions that you can make. So just be mindful of that. So if you take out a loan to pay for college, there's a certain sum that you'll have to pay back with interest. The same thing with credit cards. They are good to have. They're good to use. They're good for you to have. And it may be something that you can speak with your parents about, maybe putting you on a credit card so that you know how to use it responsibly. Now, when you go out to college, they may have tables that say, come get this basketball hoop that you can put on your door, behind your door. We'll give you a free t-shirt. Sign up and get this credit card. If you can't afford to pay that monthly expense with that credit card, you don't need it. I would recommend you build up your credit by using a card that your parents may have. Maybe they put you on as a user and you can use it that way. But don't get any new credit cards in your name until you are employed on your own and you can take care of that, because credit is important and you don't want to start out having a bad credit score, which is important when you want to borrow money. The higher your credit score, the better terms and conditions you get when you are looking to, say, purchase a car or buy a house or rent an apartment. They look at those things. If you are not financially responsible with cards or money, that can affect your credit score negatively. And you don't want that right now. You're too young. So you want to be responsible about how you use your money. So there are ways, there's a couple of different ways, say you want to manage your debt. There's a snowball effect, and then there's also the avalanche effect. So if you have a credit card, the snowball effect essentially means that you're going to pay off the card with the smallest balance first. So if you're someone who likes to see things happening quickly, start small, build it up high. That's the debt snowball effect. So you start with the smallest balance first, then you move to the next card with the smallest balance, and so on and so forth until you have paid those debts off. You, regardless of the interest rates, you make the minimum payments on all the other debt except for the one that you're paying off. You make bigger chunks of payment to pay that off. And then once that smallest debt is gone, you take that payment and you add it to the next payment. So the payment you were paying on that one, you move it to the next. So now you're doubling up on that second debt payment with the payment you had before and the next one. So does that make sense? Do you guys kind of understand, like you're using the payment of one, you pay it off, then you take what you're paying there, you move it to the next one. It's like it's snowball. Okay, I see your thumbs up. Okay, and then the debt avalanche approach is when you make the biggest payments first. So if you want to see larger amounts gone quickly, you use the avalanche method. So if you have a credit card and it's $5,000, and you have another one that's $2,000 and $1,000, you'll pay the $5,000 first, then the $2,000, then the $1,000. So your debt will end up moving faster, but it's a lot more to pay at one time. So just to not take avoid the unnecessary debt. Like I said, no additional credit cards if you don't need them. They're good to have. You may need them for emergencies. By all means, they're there to use as a tool, but don't abuse the tool and keep mindful of what it's for. And that's usually just to make larger purchases that you may not have the money for at the time, but pay it off. Pay it off. Okay. Next slide, please. So one of the things, as you guys go into your careers and you get out of school and college, you'll want to build your savings. And my advice is always to pay yourself first. You pay yourself first, you can build up your savings. One of the ways you can do that is, say, when you get money, you put some of that into another account. And you don't touch it. You don't look at it. You don't see it. You only use what you have left. So say you make $1,000. You're going to put back $100 into account. Now you just, in your mind, all you have is $900. Don't even worry about the other $100 because you paid yourself first. Then you take that 900 and you use that to pay everything else you got going on. So you can always make sure that you have something for yourself, because you'll be working hard. And you want to make sure that all your money is not going out the window to something that you don't need. So pay yourself first. That, once you have started paying yourself first, you'll find that you have an emergency fund. And that's a fund where you can, say your car breaks down, or you need to, you need some books, or you need a bed or something like that. Emergency fund, things that you don't have the money for always immediately, but you can go to that account and you have something that will help you if you have something that comes up that was unexpected. Savings accounts and investment accounts. Savings accounts are where you put your money. So I recommend that if you look at high yield savings accounts, where you can put your money where you can grow it at least like 5% a year. There's some online, just Google high yield savings accounts and put your money there when you're paying yourself first. And investment accounts are like stock accounts, retirement accounts, things of that, where you plan now for the future. So that's more of a long-term plan, investment accounts. And that's what you guys are doing. You start early, and then as you get older, it's better. You don't have as much, you don't have to play catch up. For example, I had an aunt, she worked at the Texas toll road. I'm in Texas, if you guys know, I'm in Texas. And she was 60 years old, and she thought she was going to retire. But what ended up happening was she got let go from her job, and she thought she had time to save in her retirement. And she had $38,000 in her retirement account. So she didn't plan, but she probably also didn't have somebody telling her to save early. And that's what we're hoping that, with Dr. Murray having me here, we hope that you guys at least take away to save early, to start now. Don't wait, because over time it's going to be more expensive to do the things today that you want to do tomorrow. I mean, it's going to be more expensive tomorrow than it is today to do the things that you enjoy. And you guys have probably seen it with the homes and stuff like that. They went up significantly, and what we thought was expensive 2 years ago is not expensive now. Even looking at food, y'all know, going to Raising Cane's and all those places and Chick-fil-A, it was cheaper. Now it's not. So now you guys got to learn how to cook if you're not cooking. Save the money. Okay. So just know that, think ahead. You want long-range financial goals that you are saving for, and just plan ahead. That's the best advice that I can give you, is to plan ahead. Do automatic savings, pay yourself first, and have a goal of what you want to achieve. One of the things that I did, I was in the military. I was an Air Force officer for almost 7 years. And one of the things I did was I put like $1,000 a month to the side. And before I knew it, I had $10,000 that I did not miss, because I was paying myself first and not using it. And I was living on a budget of, I don't know how much I made. It was a lot, but I was living off of that. And I didn't even see that. So it's possible and it's doable. So, and that was a goal that I had that I achieved. So I'm just saying that you guys plan early. You can do the same thing. Okay. Any questions so far? All righty. Next slide, please. We talked a little bit earlier. I spoke to you guys about your credit score and understanding what a credit score is. So what a credit score is, just for basics, is that it's a major factor in the economy and your reputation as a borrower. So in order to have the best reputation credit-wise, you need to take the time to learn about managing your credit. And it's important when it comes to, like I said before, renting an apartment, buying a car, buying a house, or even finding a job. Some jobs run your credit to see if you can be responsible for government travel cards or business travel cards. They want to make sure that you will be responsible for that. So a credit report is a report of your credit history. It has personal information like employment history, list of open and closed credit accounts, which will be credit cards, mortgages, car loans, student loans, everything that you've ever bought using credit is on that report. And it'll track, did you pay it on time? Did you pay it late? How many times were you late? And one thing to know, like if you do have credit and you're more than, say every payment is due in 30 days a month. If you go beyond the 30 days of that payment being due, it shows as a late payment on your credit report and it stays there 7 years. It takes 7 years for it to come off. So that's why it's important to make sure you pay your bills on time and before that 30 days. Now you may be a little bit late paying your bill. That's fine. They'll charge you a late fee. But if you go after that 30 days, that's when it goes on your credit report and it stays there for 7 years. So be mindful of that. If you're getting a credit card, then do your research. You want to see, sometimes there are different credit cards for gas, there are credit cards for retail stores, and then there are basic credit cards. You don't need a ton of credit cards. You know, sometimes you can just use one and it'll take care of all those needs. But you know, there are other benefits to using cards and credit cards and managing debt to your advantage. We won't get into all of that now, but right now, what I want you to understand is the basics of why credit is important and why you need to be mindful of how you use debt. When you get a credit card, or if you have credit, it's not just credit card, but your credit score is comprised of payment history, which is about 35%. So if you had one payment that was late and that's 35% of your credit score, it's a huge hit to your credit score. The amount of debt you have, typically you want to stay 30% or lower on your balances for credit cards to keep your score at a higher number. The length of your credit history is about 15%. So that's important, not as important as the other ones, but it has a significant factor rating. And then new credit is 10%. So anytime you open up a new account, it counts for 10% of your score. And then your credit mix is about 10%. So there are a couple of different factors that go into factoring what your credit score is. Anybody have any questions about credit reports or credit scores? You can also get free ones every year. Once annualcreditreport.com, you can get a free credit report. And Credit Karma is also a free app that you can use to check your credit score. It's not always the most accurate, but it can give you a good idea of where you stand. The one that I would recommend would be like myfico.com. Yes, Vera?
Yeah, so my question was, what age do you recommend like we start our credit score? Like, would you say right off the dot 18, or should we wait a little bit?
I say you can start working on your credit history. Don't worry about your credit score right now. But you want to build up your credit history just by, if you have an apartment and you pay your rent on time. If you have a car and you have a car note, pay your car note on time. Those are things that will build up your credit history. You don't have to do anything to do that. It's just when you get into those or you have those, make sure you pay it on time. And that's all you have to worry about. Does that help? Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, any questions about that? Any other questions? Okay, so you guys are already smart. See, I'm just here just giving you guys tips. Y'all already know it, so I'm glad. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, taxes are another thing. So you may or may not have to worry about taxes right now, but when you become employed, you will. Taxes are, do you need to file taxes? And if you work in the US, 9 times out of 10, you'll have to pay taxes. It's a part of what we have to do as US citizens. So I'm trying to think what it's based on your income and taxes are withheld. But as a student in school, one of the things that your parents and you need to be aware of is that you qualify for certain educational benefits, the American Opportunity Credit, the Lifetime Learning Credit. There's a tuition and fees deduction and a student loan interest deduction that you can claim on your taxes. The American Opportunity Credit is a credit for up to $2,500 for every eligible student that paid qualified educational expenses, which is typically tuition, books, fees, things of that nature. There's the Lifetime Learning Credit, and that's $2,000 per eligible student based on qualified expenses that were paid during the tax year. The American Opportunity Credit is usually only for 2 years. The Lifetime Learning Credit does not have a limit on the number of years that it can be used on your taxes. And then there are tuition and fees deductions. So up to $4,000 can be deducted from your adjusted gross income, which is some taxes it's complicated, but it's not. So there's $4,000 that you can take from your adjusted gross income on qualified expenses. So this comes into place, so your parents will either take advantage of these tax credits or advantages, or you will if you claimed yourself. And so you need to kind of see what works best for you guys as a family. If you work and your parents claim you, like, I'm going to still claim my son because I still pay a lot for him. He works and he can claim, he can file his own taxes because he had a job. However, he has to note that somebody else could claim him as well. So just be mindful of those. If you guys work and your parents claim you, you can also get your own your own claims for your own taxes, but you have to make sure that you annotate that somebody else can claim you as well if they can. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so there are a couple of resources and tools that you can use to monitor and create your own financial plan. It can be challenging at times, but there are tools and resources to help you get that done. And there's some examples like I said before, apps like Mint, You Need a Budget, YNAB, a personal credit to bank to track your expenses, your budget, your debt, your investments, and get personalized advice. There's websites like NerdWallet, Investopedia, and Khan Academy. And some of you guys may already be investing on Robinhood and TradingView. There's a lot of different ways that you guys, I know, have probably researched on how to make money, because I think that's what y'all want to do, is make money a lot too. So there are calculators, bank rate, smart asset, FinAid, you can estimate your savings, your debt, and investment needs and outcomes and make plans. And then you can also always use financial planners, counselors, and coaches to get professional guidance and support. And I will say, like myself, I work with Right Time Financial, but financial planners and advisors and coaches are absolutely a resource that you can use, because you don't have to know everything. That's why they're there. It's just like if you go to the doctor, you don't have to know everything. That's why the doctor's there. If you play sports, you don't have to know everything. That's why you have a coach. So don't be afraid to utilize the resources that you may have to get started on planning, saving, investing, insurance, credit help, repair, scores. All of those things are there. There's resources available for you to use at all times. Next slide, please. These are some budget. This was a link that I had attached to the slides. I don't know if they will have the slides, but if you have the slides, there's the top budgeting apps there that you can use, and you guys can look at them and see what best fits you on those. And that's all I have. Do you guys have any questions? You guys ready for college? You ready for budgeting your own? Okay, I see questions. Can federal assistance affect your credit or taxes if you apply to them? No, it'll affect your taxes just because you'll have to claim if you receive something from the government on your taxes, but it doesn't affect your credit. How should you save up for a car as someone who kind of struggles with compulsive buying, and when is a good time? Well, if you struggle with compulsive buying, then you need to set aside money that you don't touch. So you can buy things. There's nothing wrong with buying and purchasing, but you have to have a plan. So if you want to buy a car, you need to set a plan on how you're going to do that. You may need to cut down on the compulsive buying. I'm curious to what are you buying compulsively? Where are you, Kenneth? I'm looking for you. What are you buying?
Like small things like chips and things, just like little one-time things.
Oh, you'll be fine. Those won't, when you want to buy a car, it's going to take more than the chips that'll knock you off the budget. So, but now if you're spending $100 and $200 on chips and stuff, we might need to, talk about that. Like how can you eat something else maybe? Okay, let's see.
I don't have a question, but it's more of like a tip.
Okay.
So I got both of these books from Barnes and Nobles. They're good for like financial advice.
Oh, very
This
good.
one is
Yeah.
The Black Girl's Guide to Financial Freedom. And then this one is Buy the Avocado Toast. So it's basically a woman explaining how she was 6 figures deep in debt. And she went like out of the country to work, and that helped minimize on her taxes. Because I think it's when you work outside the US and it's something with the taxes, you're gonna have to live it back.
That's true. Very good, Kayla. Good job. Those are great resources, great books. Thank you for sharing those. Appreciate that. Let me see, there were some other questions. Would you recommend becoming an authorized user for a credit card, Yasmin? Where is she?
Yes, like on your parents' credit card.
I do, but that's something that your parents would have to decide if they wanted to add you as an authorized user. I think it's a good idea to help you build up your credit because you have, of course, get their permission before you use it. But like, for example, my son had a car and he needed gas. So I gave him a card and he was an authorized user on that card. So his name is on there. So he's also building up his credit report and his credit history, but I'm paying the bill. And so that's how you kind of benefit from being an authorized user on your parents' account. They pay the bill, but you get to use it and you build up your credit. And then what was the second website for best budgeting? It was on Forbes. There was a link. It was Forbes.com, and it was just Google the best budgeting apps. It should be okay just doing that. Have I invested before? If I do, what would you do different if you could start again? What would be some advice if I'm interested in investing but no previous experience? This is from Gabriel. Yes, I have invested before. What would I do different is what you kind of have to do when you're investing. You have to look at, do you want something long-term to sit on, or do you want something short-term? So investing is like buying a stock and holding it. Like you buy Apple and you want to hold it for 5 years, 10 years. You want to hold it for retirement. Trading is like something that's not long term. Maybe trading you do for a week, or you hold something for a month and then you pay attention to the stock market and whether you want to buy or sell. So if I were to do it over, I would have held on to some things a little bit longer. Like there's one stock you guys may have heard of, NVIDIA, that has been like going through the roof. And I had that, and I had Ethereum, and it started out and then it grew so much, but I sold it. So I would say if you have time, and you do have time, just ride them out. don't be impulsive and listening to some things. Just go to Yahoo Finance and listen to some of the other tips that, some of the financial news segments have, and online as well, and follow some of the advice there. I would have held it longer though. I wouldn't have sold them, but always definitely start early. Definitely start early. And it says, if your parents put you on their credit card, will you have the same credit score as they do when you turn 18, or will you have to build your own? You'll build your own. It'll be based on yourself, your social security number, your name. It won't be based on them. So you have your own opportunity to build your own credit score, Kenny. Any other questions? Are you guys okay about going off this? How do you guys feel about having your own budgets and financing and kind of monitoring how you do when you go off to school? Do you feel prepared to do that? A little bit? Okay. You don't know yet. You have to get there. Okay, I understand that too.
Well, Ms. Pierce, thank you so much for your time. Let's give a round of applause for Ms. Pierce for sharing some phenomenal and insightful information for our young adults today. Every time, whether it's you or Jonathan Wright, the CEO of Right Time Financial, join us and share financial literacy information, I always learn something new. So this is one of those areas where it's a lifelong journey and learning about how best to make your money work for you. So you want to make money, and then you want to allow your money to work for you. Work smarter, not harder with your resources.
Right.
So thank you so much. Ms. Pierce's slides will be included in the slide deck. So if you missed anything, or she provided some great links and resources, you'll have access to those. So thank you again. We appreciate you for joining us. All right, thank you. Next up, everyone, we're going to take a 5-minute quick break. Join me back at 55 before the hour. So if you're on the East Coast time, 4:55 and 3:55, depending on where you are, and out headed west. But in 5 minutes, join us back, and we're going to get into our final session, which is self-care and mental health matters. So join us in just about 5 minutes.
It's the Legion, baby. Now I got the ability to increase my earnings, and I don't have to do what I used to. Used to be one to take L's. Now due to the tax bracket, it's a fact that we see W-2s. Imagine that. We see W-2s. Imagine that. Now let me get back to the fact that we didn't have access from no schools. Now we're on an atlas. Black grass, we have class. We can discuss it, just don't try to change the subject. Like a cold drink without Q. No, we're not done yet. This is black success, and guess what? We're up now, and we're up next. Hey, you know the world wanna watch us after 4. Like good news, so the world so good they want some more. Like good food, look at where we are and where we came. Now we all prove that we own what's only right. We love our all black schools. HBCUs, HBCUs, rooms, trying to make a change that makes a change. So watch out for all reforms. Speaking of reform, segue funding, watch us reform. We're more than homecoming and step shows. So when we step, be warm. We're at them tables, and guess what? Yes, we keep those seats warm. We're trying to keep the peace on. Think we'll stop, then dream on. Now let's talk about these memories. Our names say we made history. Lift every voice after every victory. You can be black, black at your liberty. Stand tall like a hickory tree. What you know about going from the class to the cat? Graduation always come fast, but guess what? Our bonds will always last. You know the world won't watch us after four. Like good news, so the world so good they want some more. Like good food, look at where we are and where we came. Now we all prove that we own what's only right. We love our all black schools. HBCUs, 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 HBCUs. Alabama A&M University, Alabama State University, Jackson State University, Clark Atlanta, Spelman, Morehouse, Tennessee State, Fisk University, Howard, North Carolina A&T, all the HBCUs from the SWAC to the MEAC to the SIAC, Miles College, you know what's going down. Grambling, Southern, all the HBCUs all around the world. You know the world wanna watch us after four. Like good news, so the world so good they want some more. Like good food, look at where we are and where we came. Now we all prove that we own what's only right. We love our all black schools. HBCUs, 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 HBCUs. It's the Legion, baby. Now I got the ability to increase my earnings, and I don't have to do what I used to. Used to be one to take L's. Now due to the tax bracket, it's a fact that we see W-2s. Imagine that. We see W-2s. Imagine that. Now let me get back to the fact that we didn't have access from no schools. Now we're on the atlas. Black grads, we have class. We can discuss it, just don't try to change subject. Like a cold drink without Q. No, we're not done yet. This is black success, and guess what?
All right. We are going to resume our session. And as I cue it up, just stand by for one moment while I stop playing that and get set up for our next speaker. We are going to talk a little bit about self-care and mental health. And I'd love to welcome Dr. Felicia Pressley to the discussion. She will be our next presenter, and she is a licensed professional counselor. And she's going to be sharing some phenomenal insights with us. And I'll tell you, based on yesterday's summit session, where we talked about experiencing anxiety or dealing with the stress of studying or just breakdowns and just mental health challenges. This is a very timely discussion. So without further ado, Dr. Pressley, the floor is all yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can everyone hear me pretty good?
Yes, we can hear you, but we can't see you.
I know. I have no idea. It says Zoom is unable to detect my camera. So that is interesting. And I was trying to share my PowerPoints as well.
Well, I can give you co-host rights to share, so stand by, and then that part I can help you with.
Okay.
And stand by. Okay, you should now be able to, I will stop sharing.
Okay.
And then you'll be able to share your presentation.
Okay, great. Great. All right. Good afternoon again. I have no idea why my camera's working. I use Zoom all the time, but again, life gives you challenges. You just keep going. All right, self-care and mental health. I am Dr. Felicia Pressley. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I am the owner of Pressley Counseling and Wellness. This is my website if you'd like to reach out, and this is the office phone number. Thank you so much. I do want to say before I forget, thank you, Dr. Christie Murray, for inviting me to come and speak. I appreciate the time. I appreciate also the focus on mental health, because sometimes people forget about mental health, and it's so very important and crucial to everyday living. So just a little introduction about mental health and self-care. What is mental health? So as you can see on the screen, mental health, it includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects what we do, how we do it, and how we feel. Self-care, that's a little part that most people do not really invest in a whole lot. And as you see with the first picture, it's good mental health, and she's pouring into herself. How often do we intentionally pour into ourselves to have an intentional positive outcome in developing our own healthy, emotional, mental boundaries? Do we do that? So I want a little feedback. So I'm going to ask some questions throughout this session as well. I heard you all chiming in on the last session when you were talking about credit, so you can chime in here as well. So yes, how often do you pour into yourselves? And anyone can unmute themselves.
Once a week.
All right, great, Kenneth. Once a week. That's awesome. Anyone else? I can't pronounce your name, young lady, and I refuse to mispronounce it.
It's Anaya.
Anaya, okay.
Yeah. I pour into myself every day. I feel like if I'm not good, then I can't make my surroundings good. So it's important.
All right. I like that. Every day. Yes, it's important to do a little something every day, right? So we have to consciously make sure that we are in a good environment. Again, sometimes that's putting up boundaries, emotional, physical, and mental, because you remember that saying, you are what you eat, right? So you are also where you are. Sometimes when you're feeling downtrodden, that may be where you're feeling, and that may be what's going on around you. If you're feeling depressed, you may be in a depressive area. So again, think about it in those terms. You are what you eat, and you are, again, sometimes where your circumstances are. But that doesn't mean you have to stay there, right? So let's move on. So I know a lot of people know who this is, Miss Simone Biles, right? So the first picture is of her having to stop her sport temporarily. If you all know the story, if you don't, I'm going to give a little recap. She was in the middle of the Olympics, not currently, but the last 4 years. And she had to stop because she was having a mental blockage. She was having mental symptoms that was affecting her ability to carry out her job, which is to be an Olympic medalist and an Olympic competitor. So, parents of high achievers, students who are in honors, AP classes, and parents of scholar athletes, I have a question for you all. Do you know the level of stress that your young person is coping with right now? And young people, do your parents know the level of stress that you're going through? Anaya.
Yes, ma'am, we do.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Anaya Mama, for
nightly
checking in.
check-ins.
Say that again.
We have nightly check-ins, morning check-ins, because I need to know your energy is doing like it's supposed to do. Because if not, we need to take a break. And that's
All
anytime.
right. All right. Now you said something there. So that is important. A lot of parents push, and they don't realize sometimes kids do need to take a break. Whether it's taking a break from practice, because practice can be stressful and can be very demanding emotionally, mentally, and physically, even though they want to be the best and they want to be at the top of their academics, and they want to be at the top of their sport, whatever that may be. However, sometimes you have to take a break and get yourself together and take a pause. That's okay. One thing I want to say is perfection is a definition in a dictionary. It does not have a person next to it. So therefore, parents and young people, please think about perfectionism, trying to be perfect. Yes, you want to get things right. You want to get things correct, but nothing in life is going to be absolutely 100% perfect. You can get it correct. You can get it almost correct. You can do a great job. You can do a good job. You can do an excellent job, right? All those are categories, but there's no perfect category. Any questions before I move on or comments? And perfectionism does not exist. Thank you, Gabrielle. But many people strive for it. And you will stress yourself out and you will run yourself ragged emotionally and physically trying to reach this 100% that is very more, I would say, is more likely than not to happen. Thank you for that comment, Gabrielle. So I want to mention in this picture, even though she paused her competition, what if she didn't pause her competition and continued, but failed? How would that have impacted her mental health? I feel, hypothetically, that would have been more damaging to her mental health, continuing and then not being able to complete at the level that she wants or wanted. That would be more damaging than pausing, reflecting, grasping her emotional and physical well-being, and then returning to the competition. So think about those things. Sometimes it's important to know when to take a pause. Sometimes we don't know when to take a pause. We push ourselves very much so. In America, we have this rat race that we continuously push, and the stress of it all. Some people are good with stress, some people are not. The stress of it all can cause many, many detrimental issues. What can it cause? Here we go. Physically, it can cause headaches, fatigue, back pain, muscle aches. It can cause behaviorally. It can cause, well, not cause, but behaviorally, people will react. They will snap at people. There's the constant worrying, feelings of dread and negativity. Have you ever talked to someone that every time you speak to them, nothing goes right in their life, and they continue to say that over and over, right? So if you think about it, our mind, body, and soul is really connected. So you are what you think as well. So if you think it's not going to go right, it's not going to go right. If you think positively and push toward that, more, it won't be perfect, but it will be more positive than negative. So times, and when the old saying is, put your best foot forward. Once you put your best foot forward and keep going, positiveness will follow you. Sometimes people socially withdraw and use substances because that's the way that they cope with the stress, right? So have you ever had a friend who they were all fun and games, they were the life of the party, and then something happened in their life and they didn't want to talk to anybody. They shut out everyone. They were going through a level of stress and maybe towards a level of depression as well. Emotionally, how are symptoms of stress? Again, worry, lack of motivation, loss of interest in things that they would normally regularly do. Really feeling overburdened. People have panic attacks where they feel like they're having a heart attack. Those things come on, feelings of nervousness, and having constant thoughts. As I said before, they have these constant thoughts. It didn't go right yesterday. My day's not gonna go right tomorrow. So they have those waves of feeling that, and those thoughts continually moving. Any questions or thoughts?
The grinding your teeth one is so true because I do that, especially around finals time, because I had to buy a mouth guard from Amazon because like I woke up and my jaw and teeth would really hurt because I grab my teeth in my sleep when I'm stressed.
I used to have that issue too. I still wear them as well, the mouth guards, because I think once your body is programmed to do it, sort of, kind of, you still do it. Kenneth?
How can you help a friend who's dealing with a lot of stress, even though they block you out?
Okay, great question, Kenneth. So one thing you can do with that friend who is going through a lot of things, that's what you said, that they were going through a lot?
Yes.
Okay. One, you can let them know that you're there for them. Also, are they talking to anyone, right? Are they talking to anyone? Do they have any parental figures, guardians, trusted adults that they can talk to, that they're willing to talk to? I know sometimes people have people they can talk to. Are they willing to talk to them?
Not really.
So I will say that we do have a lot of hotlines that you can connect people with. There's the suicide hotline. There's also the self-help text hotline, like text someone that you need just to talk to. So we have those different hotlines that people can connect to. And sometimes they may need to talk to a therapist. As Dr. Murray said, I'm a licensed professional counselor, and we do assessments on people. We do assessments on young people, especially, because what a lot of people fail to do is they fail to check in. And I think I have this on one of my slides. They fail to check in. And one thing people do is like, hey, how you doing? And if you know us, we'll give you the fake answer, right? Oh, I'm okay. But what I do, I will stop whatever I'm doing, because sometimes we ask people when we're texting or we ask people when we're on the phone. Stop, look that person directly in the eye and ask them, no, I really want to know how you're doing. Don't give me the fake answer, because if you just ask them in passing, people give you the polite answer. And I have, although y'all can't see me, it's quotation marks. They give you the polite answer. And it's like, I'm good, I'm fine, I'm chill, whatever the comment is. they will give you that quick answer, because usually people aren't listening to one another. They just say that as a salutation or a greeting, but it's important to really dig in and take the time to listen to the person and let them know that you are listening. Because if you don't, they won't tell you, they won't open up. But if you just text someone, hey, just checking in on you, that's great. But if they say, I'm good, okay, follow up the email. Are you available to talk? I mean, the text message. Are you available to talk? Because sometimes just texting doesn't work with people. Sometimes you need to talk to them. Sometimes you need to meet them at Panera, Starbucks. Hey, let's go pick up, something. Because sometimes people need that one-on-one. They don't want everybody around. They might need that one-on-one with you. So whatever the activity that person likes, it might not even be anything you like. So let's just say that. But it's not about you right now. If you want to be a good friend, it's about them. So let me give you an example. I am not a hiking person. But if a friend of mine said, hey, I need to go on a hike, my mental health is whatever, do you want to go with me? I will go, but I promise you, I don't know how long I'm going to hike with you, but I will go so I can allow them to talk out whatever it is that they need to talk out. Because if somebody invites you to something or somebody asks you to something, that's how they reach out. If somebody say, hey, what's up? What you doing tonight? And you say, oh, I'm doing X, Y, and Z, that's their way of reaching out. If you tell them, nah, I'm going to hang out over here, or nah, I got this, that, whatever else going on, they might not reach out again. And if someone has reached out to you twice in just a subtle way like that, and then the next time you try to reach out to them, they're going to shut you down because the time that they needed you, you weren't available. I hope that makes sense.
Thank you.
And sometimes people don't give you two chances. Sometimes because people are so tired of not hearing the yes that they need, sometimes you only have one opportunity to reach a person. Gabrielle, you said, if we experience these symptoms, what would be the best way to communicate these concerns with others, parents, and friends? Great question. So I would say a lot of families don't have family meetings. However, I will say it is important to have family meetings. And those are times when you can share those things. Also, parents, I'm gonna put this on parents. Parents, you need to be available to your young people. I know we work. I know we got you may have a crazy boss. You may have a crazy spouse. I don't know what you got. However, there are times when everyone needs their one-on-one time with you. It might be a stretch. It might be hard to do. However, you need to carve out that time because your young people know you're not listening. I did a TikTok maybe, I don't know, several months back. They said, parents, the best time to communicate, well, not the best time, but one opportune time to communicate with your young person is either when you're driving them back and forth to practices, driving them back and forth to lessons or whatever, because sometimes young people don't want to look directly at you when they're talking. So if you're driving and they're focused on something else, but you're opening up the communication, but it also has to be a safe place for them to speak. They have to know that you're not going to overly judge them, overly criticize them, but actually listen and actually take into consideration their feelings. Because we can say, but I don't want you to do X, Y, and Z. Okay. However, just think back 15, 20 years when you were 16, 17, 18. Did you do something your parents didn't want you to do? I'm just saying. So, not that it's right, not that it's wrong. Sometimes people, and young people are included, have to think about charting their own paths. It might not be the way you do it. It might not be the way you want them to do it. However, in order to learn, sometimes we do have to make mistakes. That's where I go back to perfectionism. Nothing is perfect, but no one is perfect. But if you can outline your plan and talk through your plan, talk it over with someone that you trust. But again, you have to be available for them to listen. You have to be from a non-judgmental point of view. And sometimes just listen. They don't always want your advice on things. If they ask for it, then great. If they don't, you just say, Mom, I just want you to listen. Dad, I just want you to hear me out. I'm trying to figure it out myself. Don't jump to the gun and give them the answer or the solution. Because if you think about it, if you do it now, how often are you going to have to do that in life for them come in and save the day? That's not developing them as a young person. Developing as a young person is helping them learn, develop, and grow their own identity and learn to make their own decisions. Was that helpful? All right, back on track. So, mental health in youth. One thing I would like to say is recognize the signs when someone is struggling, not just in youth, but just in general. If people are expressing thoughts of being overly tired, that they're exhausted all the time, those are some warning signs. Sudden changes in their mood or behavior, isolating from friends and family, mood swings, neglecting responsibilities. So whether it's they're not doing their homework, they're not turning in assignments, they're not getting up to catch the bus, they stopped going to practice, they quit teams. And it's not just a personality issue with a shift in coach, but a lot of things can impact when a kiddo or someone just shift their responsibilities. It could be increased use or develop dependency on substances, and disturbed sleep patterns. So young people, how many hours of sleep do y'all normally get where you can function readily well at school? How many hours of sleep do you think you need, or do you normally need? Kenneth?
At least 7 hours.
Kenneth needs 7. Jacayla?
I think it's men need 8, but women actually need, I think, 9 or 12.
Okay. Madison?
8 to 9.
Okay. So just think about that. I know that, sometimes you're working late on assignments and things like that. It's hard to function sometimes when you don't have the proper rest. You haven't relaxed, you haven't done all these things. So these are some warning signs to think about when especially the sleep patterns. That is really crucial because you need to rest, relax your brain before the next day. Because if you haven't had the proper rest, you can't input the new knowledge because you haven't really settled the old knowledge from the previous day because you didn't get the proper rest. All right. And what should you do next if you see those warning signs? What you should do next is initiate the conversation. Open communication is best. And whatever a person says, believe them. Believe them, believe them, believe them. Because, again, it's so many times people say, well, I tried to tell someone and no one was listening. I tried to tell someone and no one was listening. Don't don't wait. Talk to a trusted adult, your coach, your teacher, or a mental health licensed therapist. Next on that list, get that person an evaluation, or try to get the person in to get an evaluation at a hospital, at a mental health clinic, with a therapist, the school counselors. The school counselor, if they're not equipped or they don't have the time, they can refer out to a community mental health facility. Substance use testing. Right now, there is a rise of substance use in young people. They're stressed. So I understand why they're using. I completely understand why people are using. So if that's the case, you may have to start treatment, whether that is counseling treatment for learning how to cope with things, learning how to talk about decision-making skills, developing decision-making skills, developing coping skills, or substance treatment. And they do have substance treatment for young people and adults. Any questions or comments on that? Okay. So what does that look like? Substance use and mental health. So on one side of the screen, you will see the warning signs, which is changes in mood, changes in peer group, which means, okay, you once knew all their friends, now you don't know any friends, right? Or if they're hanging out with a different group, being very secretive about that as well. Decline in performance in school, work, and or activities, like extracurricular activities, cancellation of extracurricular activities and clubs, cancellation of sports, those type of things, because that takes up time that they could have for using or trying to find ways to use, right? Inability to be present when they have a conversation or in a conversation, changes in weight or eating habits, loss of interest again in overall health and hygiene, just a different child altogether, or different young person altogether that you can really pinpoint and realize. Loss of memory, missing things, and not having enough funds to do the things that they need to do as well. So phases of treatment, if that is warranted. So some symptoms of drug abuse is poor sleeping habits again, changes in weight, diluted pupils, and slurred speech. So there are different levels of treatment. So there's outpatient treatment where you don't have to stay at the facility. Then there's detox where you do have to stay at the facility for a short amount of time. And then there's residential treatment where you stay there for at least 28 to 60 days to learn how to cope, readjust to life without the substances. So one thing I wanted to bring to your awareness as well is August is National Wellness Month. So with that, celebrating the whole entire month of August and prioritizing self-care, reducing stress, and creating healthier habits. So what plan will you make for this month? And this is to the group.
I think something that I'll definitely try to do is see my friends, like just before we go out to college, because I know some of them are going out of state and most of us are staying in state, but we should all just see each other and make sure that we're all good before we take on this new chapter.
Awesome, Jessica. So yes, taking time out to spend time with friends and investing in that time and encouraging one another. Awesome. Vera?
So for me, I realized I just want to get for my faith, I just want to get closer to God. So I think I'm I'm going to start just like taking time to like read the Bible and just pray more and stuff. And then I also want to do something that makes me more happy. Like recently I decorated my room just because it made me happy of how it looked like. So just little stuff like that.
Absolutely. Awesome. And I see in the comments, let's see what you all said. Exercise more, new hobbies, and participate in them. Set aside time for self-care, and learn to say no. That is very important. Make sure to schedule time for yourself to relax. Absolutely. You have to be intentional about it. That's one thing that's really important. You have to be intentional about self-care. So, do you practice? I heard some of you say you do practice self-care. And I heard some of you say you do something monthly, do something weekly, do something daily. And so my question is it intentional? What you're doing? Is it intentional? Is it on the calendar? I saw some people say, I need to schedule this, I need to schedule that. Is it on the calendar? Do you set boundaries around this? And when I say that, in the comments, I saw someone say they need to learn to say no to some things. So that's a boundary. Sometimes you have to set a boundary. Sometimes you are overly committed to something, or you need to take time to relax. It's okay to say no. It is okay to say no. No is a statement, and people will, because I've just normally seen people say, are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. The answer is no. Well, do you want to do such and such? No, I don't. I'm good. Thank you. Because again, if you neglect doing it for yourself, nobody is going to make it a priority for you. You have to make it a priority for yourself of taking care of yourself. And also, what are your coping skills? What are your coping skills? Sometimes we haven't learned those coping skills. We haven't developed those coping skills. And that, I'm going to back up for a second. And so that sometimes leads to substance use. That leads to marijuana use, because we have not developed the skills to handle stress. We have not developed the skills to handle anxiety. And so what is easier to do is indulge in a substance. It is easier to do that, to block it out, to escape from the feeling, to escape from the situation. It is easier to do that. However, is that sustainable to do for the rest of your life? Is it better to then learn to develop a coping mechanism that you can use at any time, any day, and you don't have to wait, right? So some coping skills or coping strategies, one particular one is you can use at any time is mindfulness. And that's part of self-care as well. So mindfulness can be many different things. However, I will give you a small snippet of one thing you can do. You can close your eyes to yourself, and you can pause, and you can think about your favorite things, right? You can think about either your favorite food, you can think about the favorite place you like to go, the favorite place you like to vacation, the favorite time of day. For some people, it's the morning, some people it's the evening. Favorite season, right? Some people like the summer, some people like the winter, some people like the fall, some people like the spring. However, that whatever that thing is, you can visualize that thing to calm yourself down, right? That's one thing you can do. Second thing you can do is also close your eyes and to yourself, take a few deep breaths to calm your mind, to calm your feelings on the inside, And you don't have to do loud deep breaths, right? In many different videos, you'll see people say, you don't have to do deep breaths like that. You can take it in slowly and release it slowly. And no one has to know what you're doing. And you don't have to make a sound when you do it. So therefore, you're quieting yourself, you're centering yourself, and you can bring yourself less nervous, less anxiety to yourself if you do some mindfulness in that way. And that's self-care as well. If you're getting ready to take a test, you can center yourself that way. One thing that I like to visualize, my favorite place is the beach. So I can close my eyes. I can imagine the sand under my toes. I can imagine the sun on my beautiful brown skin. I can imagine the seawater, and it has a distinct smell if you've ever gone to the ocean. And so I can imagine the seagulls singing in the background, right? And flying above the water. So those are the types of things I do if I get anxious, if I'm afraid, if I am tired and I need to relax. I put myself at the beach and I can hear the light breeze and I can feel the warmness of the sun and I can crinkle my toes into the sand. And so when you do things like that, the beach might not be for you. Yours may be the rainforest, where you would listen to the rain hit the leaves, right? And listen to the sounds of crickets in the background. So again, it just depends on what works for you. So that's a coping mechanism that I have, that I use. And again, no one has to know. I put myself at the beach. I'm at the beach. I'm cool. I'm chill. I got me a little lemonade. I have taken in the sun rays, right? So think about those things, and think about the things that puts you in a pleasant state of mind. And that's what mindfulness is. Any questions? Can anyone put themselves or think of a place that brings them joy? Okay, Kenneth, you like the beach too? All right. Oh, a big pond and a beautiful fountain at the college? Yes, that's nice. Okay, the beach, going to the library. Awesome. I just read a book in 2 days the other day. Beach, calming. Listening to soft music, that works too. Oh, the forest. The forest is nice too.
And Anaya has her hand up.
Yes, Anaya.
For me, it's my Boys and Girls Club because that's where I find my family to be in.
Okay, the Boys and Girls Club. Awesome. I just donated some things to my hometown Boys and Girls Club for their end of the school year party. Yes. I love the Boys and Girls Club. The park, yes, the park is nice. Absolutely. Oh yeah, I'm a cloud watcher too. It's nice to watch the clouds when they form and unform. That's a beautiful sight. All right. So the dream team, I am Dr. Felicia Pressley. My intern right now is Cherie Lovato, and my administrative assistant currently is Madison. So any questions before we end today? Are treatments for mental health free? I will say there are some facilities that offer pro bono, which means free, offer pro bono services. Not all mental health centers and counseling centers have pro bono counseling. I did have another slide, but that's okay. But if you reach out to certain places, there's also a sliding scale fee, but there are also different, what do you say, different options. Most therapists do take health insurance, and they can assist you that way. And so that's one way to get mental health services. And in summary, I will make it quick. In summary, please, please, please make sure that you pay attention to your own self-care. Please pay attention to others, because grief really affects a lot of people, and it affects people differently, right? And so make sure you know if they've had a recent loss. Make sure you check in with them during the anniversary of the death of the person, on that person's birthday, on their birthday, because people miss people the most during the holidays and birthdays and things like that. There's a lot of grief groups that you can join. There's a lot of support groups also that you can join, and support groups are free as well. Those are free resources. Anybody have any questions, comments, you can reach out at counselorsforyou at gmail.com or feliciapressley.com. Thank you and have a great afternoon.
And Dr. Pressley, I do have one last question that popped up in the chat, I think at least twice. So I missed to have you answer this last question.
Awesome.
What advice would you give someone who's feeling stressed but doesn't feel very comfortable opening up?
Right. So I would say, one, there are different things you could do. One, the mindfulness that I said. And two, if you don't feel comfortable opening up to an adult, you can, like I said, reach out to some of the text hotlines. You don't have to talk to someone, but you can text someone. You can also talk to a teacher. You can reach out to a mentor if you have a mentor. If you've had a camp counselor in the past, I'm sure they are more than happy to speak with you. So also talk to a therapist, right? That we are trained to talk to people that are in crisis. That's our training. We are trained to help people work through emotional issues. That's what we're trained for. That's what we go to school for. And we also have to do extra training yearly to keep up our certifications. And so we go through different and multiple trainings to make sure that we address the needs of people that come into our office. And I see a lot of young people in my office, myself and my intern. And a lot of it is kiddos not being able to talk to their parents. It's confusing sometimes to parents, but I always tell them, you aren't available, or you're judgmental, or you don't actually listen. You say you're listening, but you're not. You're focused on the phone. You're focused on the TV. You're focused on dinner. You're focused on everything else, or you're focused on what you have going on. And so if you do that, people know when you're tuned into them. So I understand if you're not comfortable opening up to someone, because either they may be overly judgmental about your life. They may be, what was I getting ready to say? Overly judgmental and just not available. But someone is. That's what I would say. Someone is available.
Okay, well, let's give a big round of applause to Dr. Pressley for certainly enriching us today with some very, very important and valuable information on self-care and mental health. Everybody goes through things. Every one of us struggle at some point or sometime with something. And so being able to manage and cope in constructive and non-harmful ways is very, very important. And the earlier you learn those things in your teenage years and your early 20s, the better off you will be managing and coping with things as you age and progress in life. So thank you all so much for asking such great questions. And thank you, Dr. Pressley, for taking the time out today to share with our young adults. All right, so what does that mean? That brings us to the last segment of our program, and that's our closing remarks. So I am going to queue up my computer. All right, so we're going to now focus on our closing remarks. So first of all, I hope that each one of you found this summit, the Youth Career and College Excellence Summit, to be a good use and valuable use of your time this weekend, more importantly. And with that being said, I would love to hear from some of you. If you could share a reflection or share something that you learned, either something key that you took away from either yesterday or today, or even just come off of mute and say whether or not you found the summit valuable or at all. And would you encourage others to attend? So I only want to take maybe about 5 minutes, but I do this every year. This is my 4th year. And I do this to make sure that we're sharing things that are valuable to each one of you. And so that feedback will help us to continue to introduce important topics that matter. Anyone want to share? Oh, wonderful. I will start with Jakayla.
What really helped me was looking for low competition scholarships and using the quotation marks so you have a better chance of finding the specific keywords for the type of scholarship you need.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So the scholarships, I love scholarships that a lot of people don't know about, a lot of people can't and don't apply for. And those are the ones that'll increase your chances of getting those scholarships. So thank you. Gabriel.
Well, some of key takeaways, I will say it's okay taking a step back in a stressful moment. And me as already being in college, I think it was pretty important through this summit actually understanding that, especially the part for financial. I still figuring out the financial part of my college, but with the amazing tips like what is specifically they're looking for in the scholarships, I know that area I feel more comfortable.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. The money can be stressful. So when we talked about at the end, all these different stressors in so many different areas, but understanding our financial literacy and financial opportunities certainly can help to alleviate stress in some way. So thank you for sharing that. Vera.
Hi, can you guys hear me? The music is kind of loud. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Okay, so I'll say something from yesterday and then something from today. So from yesterday, I really enjoyed how you showed us your charts full of like the list and like how to like organize either your schools you want to attend or like the scholarships. I'm definitely going to be using that because one thing I just always want to do is stay on top of everything and organize at the same time. And then today, I really appreciated the criticism you gave us about like if we did something wrong, how we did it wrong, because I definitely saw points where I did stuff wrong and it was like, oh, okay, now I know this for next time. And I think that was really useful. This whole event was very, very useful. And I just want to say thank you to you, Dr. Christie, for just putting it all together and making it just available to all of us all around the nation and everything like that. It was definitely very informational and will be used. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vera, for your comments. Y'all gonna make me cry. All y'all my babies now, but y'all gonna make me cry. But that's what it's all about, making sure that you all get what you need out of this. So excellent. Thank you for your remarks. Ms. Cassandra. You're on mute.
Thank you. I was trying to find the unmute button. I think the thing that I learned that was most beneficial for me as a parent, I have a high functioning college student, scholar athlete, very high charged and very, you know, pristine academically, and has always been since she was a young girl. But I think I heard some insights in the panel discussion yesterday with the young adults about the stressors of young adults and some of the things that they experience that they don't necessarily talk to their parents about. And that's why I think the conversation with Dr. Pressley was important. I think it was important for the young people, but it was for the young people to hear what their peers are going through. But I think it's helpful as a parent as well, because we have to make sure that we find time and find spaces where we can have conversations with our young adults. And what I find is whenever my kids come into my room, whatever I'm doing, I just stop. If I'm watching TV, I hit mute. If I'm on the phone, I'm like, girl, I'm gonna have to call you back, because I want to just be intentional about being present. Because when they want to talk, you don't have a real large window if they need to speak. You need to be present when they come around. So very, very insightful Youth College Excellence Summit. Again, Dr. Murray, and I want you to keep doing this. I think you're making a positive impact in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just add, as a parent, one of the things, and this is for the parents out there, one of the things I stopped doing is giving my sons, they're both in college now, 21 and 23, I stopped giving them advice and start asking them questions that will help prompt them to think for themselves. So open-ended questions and then pausing and listening is a great, easy way to let your young adults know that they have a voice, their thoughts matter. And what you're doing is you're helping to build critical thinking muscles that when you're long, far away, and they're not with you, they're going to be thinking about their life differently and for themselves. So thank you for that, Cassandra. Miss Madison.
Hello, everyone. So from yesterday, I think for me was The Apprentice, because I didn't know a lot of information about that. And then today, I think the like the budgeting section of the financial section of the summit today, I really did enjoy that part because I do want to get better with budgeting. I didn't know there was budgeting apps that you could use. So I like downloaded those. But yeah, I think overall the summit was really good and I did learn a lot of information. So thank you.
And, thank you, Madison. Madison is a graduate student, done with high school, done with the 4-year degree, and still finds the value in this summit. So I want y'all to stay connected and make sure that I want to make sure these summits pour into young adults in their entirety, because we're still growing and evolving together. So as you matriculate through college and beyond, stick with this summit. I guarantee you there'll always be something that we can all use. Thank you. Miss Anaya.
Hey again. Okay, so I want to start by saying thank you, because if it wasn't for you, obviously none of this would have came about. But you really emphasize how important the summit would have been for me at the CFT summit. So I think it was a game changer. First of all, the ROTC, I learned a lot of new information regarding how to get involved with the military aspect and scholarships and all the important things that I didn't even know I needed, but obviously I do. So I thought that was a great thing. I also thought the budgeting aspect from today was a great thing, because I'm not good at money, but I know how to handle money, if that makes sense. So I thought that was really intriguing to listen to. And just all around, they weren't space fillers. I can't specify which one I loved more than the other, because they were all things that I genuinely would use. I genuinely will use the planner, the template that you gave us. I genuinely will use my scholars profile. I genuinely use all of these great, amazing tools that we need to become successful. So thank you, Dr. Christie. You know what you're doing.
All right. No, I appreciate that. And that warms my spirit, because that you guys' feedback determines what I do next year. And for me, and don't think for 1 second that I don't take part of your Saturday and part of your Sunday for granted. So I respect your time, and I'm glad that you're finding it to be filled with things that can prepare you for the future. So thank you, Anaya, for that. I'm going to abbreviate and say, Zach, you're up next.
My name is Zakai, but
I was really like intrigued about the apprenticeship information because I was thinking about going into trade, and I really wanted to get into an apprenticeship for my senior year of high school. And anybody, like, I would definitely recommend this summit to anybody else who's trying to go down the path of apprenticeship or just, you know what I'm saying, get better in life.
Well, thank you for that very much. Your point is well taken. And one of the things I'm going to do is certainly share more about other workforce development opportunities that may not necessarily include a 4-year degree, because I think we all could benefit from hearing more that you could earn while you learn and make phenomenal money without a 4-year degree, and what those opportunities are to you. So thank you so much for that. Mr. Kenneth.
Um,
For some reason, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Well, I wanted to start off and say I really appreciate the opportunity for, listening in for these past like 2 days. I gained a lot of information, and I think the biggest takeaway I got was probably that it's okay to not know, especially when it comes to scholarships, because I'm in the process of starting to apply for a lot of them. And like yesterday when we talked about the junior ROTC stuff, I didn't know that you could get paid to go to college and do different things, especially for me trying to go into the medical field at some point. And the financial advisor today taught me a lot about how to manage money and how to be smart and build short time and long term wealth. And all of this was just fun. And I look forward to doing it again. I would definitely recommend for another person.
Well, thank you very much, Kenneth. I do want to say some of y'all on here, I did not see no scholarship application at all. So I got questions as to why didn't you apply when you could have been in the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, college, or beyond. So I appreciate that. Will continue to do more workshops on scholarships and other topics, and I'll push that out to you all as I do. But certainly, here's the biggest thing about free money. It's not going to come knocking at your door. And this is for everybody. You've got to go find it. You've got to apply. You are 100% guaranteed not to get any scholarship money if you don't apply for no scholarships. So increase your odds by getting those applications in. You have resources, you have mentors, you have people who are here and passionate about helping you. So let us certainly do that and help you. Miss Chancellor, you're up next.
I just wanted to say thank you so much, Dr. Murray, for hosting this summit. I really think all of the information I've learned from this has been invaluable, especially day one with all of the scholarships. I always kind of knew that scholarships were going to be my key to going to college, but I never really knew where to start. And so learning about how to find scholarships and apply for them has been really, really helpful, especially all of the guest speakers as well too. Learning about the ROTC program has really given me some things to think about. And I want to say thank you so much.
You're more than welcome, and thank you for the feedback. Very well received. And last but not least, Miss Ivis, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Murray. This summit was just phenomenal, very phenomenal. And my takeaway is basically I'm a parent. I have a 17-year-old that's still in high school, and I have a 21-year-old. He's still undecided what he wants to do, but with all the information that I've listened to from yesterday till today, I think I know where we need to start with him and as well. But all my takeaway was everything discussed was huge value. I love the scholarship talk, the apprenticeship learn and earn, the advice of importance of voting for those that can, the budgeting strategies and military NJROTC programs, and mental health and self-care techniques. Great insights. Love the listen, just listen without being judgmental, etc. I think that hold on for a second, I wrote it down. I think that we all need to continue to learn and grow. So I just want to say thank you. I look forward to next year's summit.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ms. Perez, for your input too as a parent. And I don't know anywhere else that has parents, high schoolers, college students, all kind of great experts, and giving away scholarships for those who are willing to earn while they learn, like this summit. And so I'm hoping that we continue to grow the amount of support we can give. My vision is that we can do this in person and then always keep a virtual component to extend our reach across the country and to certainly increase the amount of funding and opportunities we create for young adults. So thank you so much. Sable, you're up next.
you.
Sable, you're on?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, that's me. That's Linda. I don't know why it came up Sable. It was something I used somewhere else, but David wanted to say something. Hi, I'm David, trying to enter my last year of college, and I'm just going to say this. I want to say thank you for this because it reminds me of a lot of the skills I think I've lost in the hustle and bustle, the stress, and the years since I've been a part. Because I was in Boy Scouts pretty actively in high school, where I learned a lot of skills similar to this. But once I entered college, one thing started going wrong. I got stressed. I started forgetting everything I knew. And this was a wonderful place to go and relearn all of it. So once again, thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you, David. And I appreciate your feedback too. And this should serve as a reminder that sometimes we know things, but sometimes we just need to be refreshed and reminded. So I appreciate that. Mari's iPhone, you're the last to share, and then we'll get to our scholarship and giveaway announcements.
Okay, hey, Dr. Murray. I'm Mary Angeli from COT. I just wanted to say that yesterday I really appreciated your your templates and stuff like that for the scholar profile, and just kind of giving us good strategies on how to navigate going through college. Especially me, I'm a senior, so I'm gonna have to start applying and stuff like that. And I was really nervous, but now I feel a lot more comfortable in applying. And today I really appreciated the budgeting skills. I always thought I was a pretty good budgeter, but then I started realizing that there was credit scores and tax things that I did not know before. I was like, oh, wow. But yeah, I just really appreciated it. And I also really appreciate your commitment to the community. And again, with COT and stuff like that, I see you everywhere. And I just think you're an amazing person, a great influencer. And I would always keep in touch with you for any advice.
Thank you so very much for that. Y'all gonna make me cry. I'm trying to hold it together here, but no, I do appreciate that because young adults are a tough audience. Y'all are brutally honest. Y'all gonna keep it real and tell us like it is. So the fact that there are things that I'm doing and other professionals and those who care about the community we're doing to pour into y'all and it's being well received really warms my spirit. So thank you so much. And for those who don't know, you've heard several young adults on here talk about the Boys and Girls Club and the Center of Transformation. Well, I work for the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Washington, and we have about 26 clubs in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area under our umbrella. And every year we launch a Center of Transformation program to teach young adults about raise awareness on global climate change. And so some of those who are here, actually, I invited them to this summit from our program there. And I'm just really encouraged and excited to see you all joining us over 2 days. So thank you all for that as well. And they're coming in from all over the country. So thank you so much. All right, so I am going to drum roll. Let me see, move forward. I'm going to share my screen again. All right, hopefully everybody can see my screen. Now we're going to move into the segment that you've been waiting for. But first, again, save the date for next year's summit. I don't care if you're already in college, still in high school, or already graduated from college. August 2nd and 3rd, 2025, we'll be right back here, same time next year, hopefully with more money and even more opportunities to share with each one of you. I also would be remiss if I did not give a special thank you to our sponsors, Educational Excellence, Inc., my company, for hosting this summit for the past 4 years, the Buffy Foundation, Inc., which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, The Magnus Temple #3, ancient Egyptian Arabic order nobles, mystic shrine of North and South America and its jurisdictions. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm going to give those individuals a chance to speak when we get to their scholarship. The Gospel Worship Experience Scholarship Program, Ultimus IT, the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Washington, the Center of Transformation Program, also sponsored a scholarship. Chambliss Consulting, LLC, one of the parents actually is a sponsor. She spoke, Miss Cassandra spoke, she's actually a sponsor. And then Wright Financial, LLC, they're the ones who brought the financial, the Money Matters presentation. They are also one of our key sponsors. So thank you so much. The opportunities that we're pushing back out to our young adults would not be possible without you. So on behalf of all of the young adults, we thank you. Now, we had about 14 different scholarship applications to come in. 14 of you, that's a really great number. 14 of you took the time and a short turnaround to gather up your documents, write an essay, and submit your application. While we were unable to award every last one of you a scholarship, I'm doing my best to make sure most of you get at least a giveaway or something to take away that will further advance your college and career efforts. So I'm going to start with our giveaway winners announcements. So for Jakayla Banks, congratulations. You are the recipient of a 1-hour free financial consultation. You and your parents can attend. Mr. Jonathan Wright, the CEO of Wright Financial, was gracious enough to make sure that you had an opportunity to sit down with an associate from his firm and be able to ask your questions, talk about your budget, talk about your college funding approach, and more. So congratulations on your 1 hour of free financial consultancy.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The next giveaway is for one free essay review, and that award goes to Morgan Hamilton. Congratulations, Morgan. My company, Educational Excellence Incorporated, is willing to review one of your powerhouse essays as you are matriculating through your high school career and you're getting prepared for scholarships in college. Send me your essay, and the email address is listed here, and we will make sure that I review your essay and give you some great candid feedback. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, the next free essay review goes to Joy Coker. Again, same thing. Educational Excellence Inc. is happy to review one of your essays as you are entering your senior year or between now and the time that you finish college, really. But anytime you need help with an essay, reach out and you will get one candid essay review from me. And y'all know I like to keep it real about what I see, and I will certainly encourage you to strengthen your writing. So congratulations, Joy.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And lastly, Chambliss Consulting. Ms. Cassandra, can you share just in maybe 15 seconds what your company is about and why you're giving away to Ms. Bethany Tolley one free resume review?
So good afternoon, everyone. I have my own consulting company and business. I'm a federal government employee, and I've been helping people for over 20 years find government jobs, transition into government positions, or transition into the private sector. I've worked with a lot of students too, middle all the way up through college students. So Bethany, I look forward to working with you. Reach out to me via my information on the site, and let me help you take a look at your resume, get it vamped up, and help you. I'll help you in any way that I can. I look forward to working with you.
And I know Bethany may be on an airplane right now, but I'm sure she thanks you from the bottom of her heart. So thank you, Ms. Cassandra. Now, without further ado, we're moving to our scholarship winner announcements. Now, I will say that we are awarding today 10 scholarships that total in over $6,450. And this is the breakup of how many scholarships we have per scholarship donor that I highlighted earlier. So I'm going to move into those now. So first, we're going to start with the lowest dollar amount, and we're going to work our way up to the Magnus Temple $2,500 scholarship. So the first recipient is for the Chambliss Consulting LLC scholarship and the amount of $150. And that award goes to Miss Yasmin Goodrich. She is from Chesapeake, Virginia. She's 19 years old, and she is a college sophomore majoring in pre-nursing and pharmacy at my alma mater, Hampton University, with a 3.17 grade point average. So congratulations, Yasmin.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The next scholarship will go to a Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Washington Center of Transformation teen. This teen is someone who lives in who attends one of the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Washington's clubs in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And this individual was a part of our Center of Transformation program this past year. This scholarship award is in the amount of $300. Now, again, the Center of Transformation's aim was to raise global climate change awareness by making sure that youth understood what it was and use their voice to advocate. So as I share, I do want to play a brief video on the Center of Transformation.
COT is definitely something I will go back to my Boys and Girls Club talking about and inviting other members to come.
I think I gained a lot more confidence being here and like more certainty that I can actually achieve my goals and it's not a distant dream.
If you feel like you want to level up your kids, you want to level up your program into something really meaningful, travel is change for people. The kids that get on planes are not the same kids that get off the plane.
All I see is win-wins. You get to come to the nation capital, you get to tour, you get access to places that you normally would not get access to.
Our youth are doing bigger and better things, and they're only going to continue to grow, continue to thrive.
The Sashiko Kuno Center of Transformation, it's just been a wonderful opportunity to support kids not only in Greater Washington, but to open that up to boys and girls and clubs across the nation.
This is an experience I'm gonna be to remember for the rest of my life.
All right. So I'm super excited about that program. It has been awesome. I enjoyed working with youth from across the country, Puerto Rico, and Canada this past year. So without further ado, the recipient of the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Washington COT Scholarship Award goes to, Miss Vera Ofosua for $300. And Vera is from Alexandria, Virginia, our Murraygate Club. She's 17 years old. She is a high school senior attending West Potomac High School with a 3.5 grade point average. So congratulations, Vera, well deserved.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, next we have the Ultimus IT Scholarship. This is a scholarship that was actually donated by one of my neighbors in my community. He has a networking IT firm. His name is DeMarcus McKinney, and he is donating a $500 scholarship towards this year's Youth Summit. And the recipient of the $500 from Ultimus IT is Mr. David Wong. Congratulations, David, who is from Apoca, Florida, age 22. He is a senior in college, majoring in computer science at Florida Polytechnic University with a 2.66 grade point average. So congratulations, David.
Had a basket mishap there. Thank you very much. Every little bit helps. Am I right, people?
Yes, you're absolutely right. And y'all don't turn down those small scholarships. They add up, to David's point. Next, I have the privilege of awarding two $500 scholarships for the Gospel Worship Experience Scholarship. The first award goes to Mr. Jaden Ryland. From Bowie, Maryland. He's 17 years old and he's a high school senior attending Bowie State, not Bowie State, but Bowie High School with a 3.78 grade point average. Congratulations, Jalen.
Thank
Jaden.
you.
Sorry, Jaden. You're more than welcome. And the next recipient of the Gospel Worship Experience Scholarship is Chancellor Anderson from Upper Marlboro, Maryland. She's 16, and she is a high school senior, and she is homeschooled, and she has a 4.0 grade point average. So congratulations, Chancellor.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Welcome. Great job. And next, I have the privilege of awarding 4 $500 scholarships from the Buffy Foundation Incorporated. This donor has been a donor with me since year one. And every year, the amount of money that Dr. Marvette Thomas, who owns the dental spa here in the Woodbridge area, every year she donates even more money to this cause. And she shared with me recently that when she was in college, someone helped her, and so she has a passion for wanting to help others. So thank you so much, Dr. Thomas, for your scholarship. The first recipient of the Buffy Foundation Scholarship is Mary Angeli Ponce Rivera from Tony, Alabama. She's 17 years old, and she is a high school senior attending the Alabama School of Cybersecurity, Technology, and Engineering with a 4.2 grade point average. So round of applause to Mary Angeli.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. The next recipient is Anaya Stokes for the Buffy Foundation Inc. Scholarship. She's from Woodbridge, Virginia. She's 17 years old. She's a high school senior attending Colgan High School with a 3.6 grade point average. Congratulations, Anaya. Fantastic. And the next scholarship recipient is Gabriel Cordero Ariche from Sarasota, Florida. He's 18 years old and he's going to his freshman year of college, majoring in aerospace engineering. I love my engineers. And he's attending the University of Central Florida with a 3.85 grade point average coming out of high school. Congratulations, Gabriel.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You are welcome. You're welcome. And lastly, Miss Madison Prather from Woodbridge, Virginia. She's 22 years old and she is in her second year as a graduate student working on her Master's of Education in School Counseling at Virginia Commonwealth University. Madison has a 3.88 grade point average. Yes, we give money to grad students too. So congratulations, Madison.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. And last but not least, let me just say all of the applications were great. The essays were really compelling. And thank you so much for taking the time to complete those applications and to take this process serious. The Magnus Temple number 3, this scholarship is for $2,500, but I want to pause and give, I know Mr. Cyril is on and Mr. Prather are on. If either or both of you want to share any brief remarks about your organization and your scholarship, that would be great. And if you're speaking, you're on mute.
I think he may be speaking or trying to speak. I'll wait for him to say it first.
There you go. Dr. Murray, thank you. Thank you, Alexis Potentate, for straightening me out as always. But I want to give way to the lead of our organization here in Alexandria, illustrious Potentate Cyril R. Charity Sr., who's the illustrious Potentate for Magnus Temple number 3, Oasis of Alexandria, Desert of Virginia, Ancient Arabic Order of the Noble of the Mystic Shrine for North and South America than his jurisdiction. So I like to give weight to him because he was the leader of the organization, pushing to continue the partnership with you. So, illustrious potentate, over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. Dr. Murray, as you know, it's always a pleasure. You know, we've been talking about this for a while, and we hopefully are just putting our foot in the door to continue a rich tradition and continued support and increased support as the years go on. Just real briefly to everybody who's on this call, the young men and women, I was you once upon a time. I graduated high school down in Richmond, Virginia, going to University of Maryland, and had no idea how I was going to pay for it, but I knew that some way through God's grace, hard work, and continued diligence that I would find a way. And I just want you all to know that it is nothing less than a pleasure and an honor to be able to present this scholarship to a worthy high school senior, to hopefully be nothing less than a small coil and a giant springboard in their educational goals and their professional career. So we hope that this helps out. We hope that you all are prosperous. And we ask that if there's anything we can do, please always reach out, and we're here for you. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ernest and Mr. Cyril, for your ongoing support and partnership pouring back into our young adults. So without further ado, this scholarship is going to a a college freshman who is attending an HBCU in the DC, Maryland area. And this scholarship goes to Miss Jessica Coker from Hyattsville, Maryland, and the amount of $2,500. She's 18 years old and she's entering her freshman year, getting a bachelor's degree in elementary education from Bowie State University. And she currently graduated with a 3.18 in high school. So congratulations, Jessica.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You are more than welcome. Put it to good use. So I just want to share as we wrap up our summit for 2024, that it has been my absolute pleasure to bring such great information and to connect you with such powerhouse professionals and experts in so many different spaces. I expect big things from all of y'all, whether you received a scholarship, whether you applied for a scholarship or not. You already have everything inside of you to be successful. You are your only competition. And you all know that I am just a phone call and an email away should you need anything, any support, or any resources as you're matriculating in high school, college, or just lifing as life is as a young adult. So I want to thank you personally for hanging out with me for the past 2 days. And I look forward to seeing you again next year, and even hearing from you throughout the year. And thank you to all of those who reached out yesterday and volunteered to be on future panels. And some of my scholarship recipients, I may be reaching out to y'all too, so that you can come back and encourage other young adults and pay it forward by sharing your experiences and your testimonies in the future. So thank you all very much. The slides and recordings will be available to you on my website, and I will send an email out to everyone who attended. So enjoy. Let me take this off of, I just want to see faces. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and thank you all so very much for spending time with Educational Excellence Incorporated at our Youth Career and College Excellence Summit. So job well done, and see you next year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.